Everybody, ladies and gentlemen, Pugs Moran here for another day of ribald social social commentary of the kind that you can't just hear anywhere else. I come to you live every day from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studio here on the beautiful south side of Chicago, the right side, if you're asking me. We've got a big show for you today. Huge show. But it'll be a quick one. Guys, I promise you. Some days these things go for 4 hours. Some days they go for 2. Today is going to be one of them 2-hour shows. I got stuff to do and places to be, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff going on. So let me tell you about what I'm going to be wheeling and dealing in the next couple of hours on. We're going to talk about Iran. Of course, we're going to have to get into that. We're going to talk about Straits of Hormuz, right? Am I saying that right? Sorry, I'm not all that familiar with that part of the world. The Straits of Hormuz. Apparently, we've destroyed the Navy, but now they're mining the Straits of Hormuz. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Trump. Trump's doing this funny thing. You know him. He's funny. He does the funny things. He does the things that are just inscrutable. I guess that wouldn't be the word for it. He is making all of the people in his cabinet, all the dudes, I even say, I guess it's not for women, but all of the dudes in like Trump's immediate personal universe have to wear the same bullshit fucking strip mall shoes. And he's forcing them to wear these shoes. And there are some comic results that are coming from this. So we'll cover that as well. Gas prices, we'll talk about that. We're going to compare. We're going to beat the crap out of Kristi Noem a little bit because, yeah, she's out of sight, out of mind, but doesn't matter. She still deserves an ass kicking. So we're going to talk about, you know how she was flying around in like, the G5 fuck palace, her and Corey Lewandowski, all her, on our dime, of course. So we know about that. I showed you the pictures of the plane we watched. Was it Senator Kennedy? I don't know. Somebody was grilling her on the plane. And why did she need this like bedroom and all that? Just blowing money while she was in charge. Well, my God, I've got a story here. Would you believe? Look, we're going to talk more about that crazy, stupid commercial where she's on the horse. We're going to talk about that crazy, stupid commercial where she's riding the horse. Wasn't that a Super Bowl ad? I think it might have aired during the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about that ad. But then we're also going to talk about how that ad compares to, I don't know, all the films nominated for Oscars. And by that, I mean cost-wise. Did Kristi Noem's little horseback ride on the taxpayer dollars, did Kristi Noem's little Super Bowl ad there, did that cost as much? Well, it cost us as much because we're the taxpayers. Did that cost us as much as, say, I don't know, Paul Thomas Anderson's One Battle After Another? We'll find out. We'll see what cost more. I got a feeling. Just look, I don't want to ruin it for you, but I got a feeling. We taxpayers probably paid more. I'm just guessing, but we're going to compare. Swamp, remember? It's a swamp. We're going to get rid of the swamp. We've got the biggest. We no longer have a swamp. We now have a wetland, an entire wetland. All right, we'll talk about that. Maddie's going to be with us. That's right. It's What's on Maddie's Mind for a Wednesday. She was supposed to be on Monday, but Monday's show was a huge cluster F, so I apologize for that. But Maddie's gonna regale us with what's on her mind. And so that's good. I don't want to say what it is. I don't know if I'm supposed to say what I'm not supposed to say. Whatever. Maddie, that's all we got. Maddie's going to come. She's going to take the floor for a period of time, and we're going to discuss. I like the interaction. Do you guys remember when I first 5 years ago when I first sat here at noon going, all right, we're going to do the high noon show, and that's what it was called in the very beginning. Some of you may recall how fucking freaked out I was. I had never done a solo show. I had always worked in ensemble shows, whether it was the morning shows that I worked on here in Chicago, or the shows that I hosted in Chicago. It was a team. It was me and Kelly and then an ensemble. That same sort of thing we brought to Dallas. So I'm not used to just spewing, right? So I was 5 years ago. And now look at me. Now I've been doing it every damn day. Turns out I can do it by myself. I can do the Rush Limbaugh thing. Yeah. But I like when Maddie joins us. That's my point. That's what I was trying to get to. I like when Maddie joins us because I like to have somebody to talk to every now and again. What else are we going to talk about? Oh, big news out of the Taylor Sheridan universe. You know me, I have a complicated relationship with Taylor Sheridan and the television shows that he creates. Some I like, some I just think are so stupid, and some I think are stupid, and yet I still like them. Well, he's got a new one. Frisco King. That's right. A spinoff of Tulsa King is going to star Sam Jackson, and it is going to be set in Frisco. I'll tell you all the details about that. Of course, they won't be filming it in Frisco. They'll be filming it in Fort Worth, although they'll use some exterior stuff in Frisco. But yeah, Frisco King. We'll read the description, and we'll go through what it's about. And then we'll guess whether or not it's. I'll be watching. I lived in Frisco, but I'm very familiar with Frisco, Texas. I'm very familiar. So I will be watching regardless. But all right, so we'll talk about that. What else do we have? Okay, so after Maddie, like the second half of the show, not even the second half of the show, but let's say the last third or the last quarter, if you will. I don't know how it'll actually shake out. But whatever it is, the final things that we're going to do on today's show is we're going to do sports. You know me. I say I'm the greatest sports talk host in America. I just refuse to be pinned in by sports. I just don't want to only do sports. You know what I mean? That would be awful to me. It's the same thing with politics. Like if you said, hey, Pugs, you can do a show doing politics. I'd be like, only politics? And they're like, yeah, no politics. Can I talk sport? Can't talk sports. Can I talk sports and politics? No. So we're here. So I'm going to do some sports talk because there are some big stories that are going on. I'll tantalize you with a couple of them. We're going to get into this whole Maxx Crosby situation. Why? Because it certainly does interest those of us who are Dallas Cowboy and Chicago Bear fans. The Maxx Crosby situation. We're going to do a little bit of an autopsy on it, try and figure out what the truth is here. Of course, this all relates to the fact that Maxx Crosby, the game-wrecking defensive end for the Los Angeles Raiders, was the number one, right? You would think that, of all the players that were available to make moves this offseason, I think that maybe Maxx Crosby might have been the most desired. So a huge deal came down on Friday, and Maxx Crosby was traded to the Baltimore Ravens for 2 first-round picks. Well, last night, 6 o'clock around evening, we found out that the Baltimore Ravens have voided that deal. They no longer want Maxx Crosby, and they are telling the Raiders to take their 2 first-round picks back. And we'll go from there because it is insane what is happening in the NFL. The Raiders thought they traded Maxx Crosby. So in the time between trading them on Friday and learning that the Ravens didn't actually want Maxx Crosby now because he failed a physical on Tuesday, the Raiders went out and spent sailors on leave in free agency. So now they're like, we don't have any cap space to keep Maxx Crosby. Or do they? We'll figure that out. All right, so that's one of the things I want to get into. The other thing, guys, and I'm going to save this for last because, if you follow me on Twitter, Pugs Moran on Twitter, Pugs Moran on, well, I was going to say Facebook. It is Pugs Moran on Facebook, but it's a new Facebook page, guys. I have no control over what many think is my Facebook page. What was once, for 15, 16, 17 years, what was once my Facebook page is now a rogue zombie page that is out there selling cars and Rolexes, and I have absolutely no way to get that page back. So I've started a new Facebook page, and apparently it is it's going to be the Pugs Moran Facebook page that has a picture of me. My old Pugs Moran Facebook page, I don't think it has a picture of me anymore. I think it's like a smiley face emoji. So that's one way you can know. But the really upsetting way that you can know you have the right Facebook page for Pugs Moran is that the new Facebook page has like 15 followers. There's like 15 of you have found the new page. There were thousands on the old page. I got like 15 of you. So please go look for me. Send me a friend request and I will accept you right away. I am furiously just sending friend requests to people on the new Facebook page, but they limit you. I think you can only do 10 a day or something. So by this time next year, maybe I'll be caught up. I don't know. I refuse to do the math. All right. Pugs Moran on Facebook, Pugs Moran on Instagram, Pugs Moran on YouTube, Pugs Moran on Blue Sky, Pugs Moran on Twitter. So if you've been following me on any of those platforms, you know that, and I haven't brought it onto the air. I haven't brought it onto the stream because, well, I don't think that many people share the same enthusiasm that I have for this particular subject until maybe tonight. That's right. I'm going to talk about the World Baseball Classic. Like I said, man, you know I'm like into it big. If you follow me on Twitter, I'm watching Czechia take on Romania, Chinese Taipei versus Tokyo. It's incredible. It's incredible. This is what the Olympics are supposed to be. And it's better than the Olympics because I care about baseball and I don't care about sledding, which is what the Winter Olympics is. Hey, who can sled the best? I don't care about that. I care about baseball. I'm an American. I love baseball. World Baseball Classic, I'm telling you, there are stories. There are moments. I can't tell you how many times in the last week I've been choked up watching these games because of situations that have it's sports emotion. Anyway, we're going to talk about that. Big game last night. Incredible game last night. And, I'm smiling because I'm not really all that upset that Team USA lost to Team Italy. That's right, American baseball purists. Italy is now technically better than the United States at playing the grand old game. So we'll talk about that. There's a lot to talk about. Oh, my God. Last night's World Baseball Classic was awesome. It was so great. All right, so we'll talk about all of that and more. First of all, let me say hi to the chat room because you know how I love my people in the chat room. I love my early people in the chat room. Can I also say that since the Facebook problem, these shows are like in the toilet, completely in the toilet by half. It's like we're getting half the numbers that we got before the hacking. So this hacker screwed me, man. I know he screwed some of you. Some people are actually engaging with the hacker. We talked to one of my old friends, the mystery friend, who almost got caught up in purchasing a Rolex watch from the person pretending to be me on Facebook. So please be careful of that. All right, chat room. Who's the first person in? Well, Maddie is the first person in, but she's the executive producer and part-time co-host of the show. So, she doesn't really get credit for that. Who does get credit? Peter. Peter is the first person in. Peter's getting credit for that today. Peter says, happy 311 day. Is that a thing? Is that a thing? Because there was like a one-hit wonder band from a couple of years ago, 311. Are you 311 fans? Did I just insult an entire generation of fans by calling them one-hit wonders? I know that they had more than one hit, but they were really, in the grand scheme of the history of rock and roll, 311 is a blink in the eye, right? It's a blink. They're 311 is in league with Mott the Hoople. They had some hits, but let's not overstate their importance to the genre. All right, happy 311 day. We have an executive producer today. I do want to thank our executive producer. Every day we award the title of executive producer to the supporter of this show who tips. That's right, we accept tips. That's how this show runs. We don't have advertisers. It's not that we don't want advertisers. It's just that, it's been a difficult slag, and there's enough of you that can, pay to keep the internet going and the platforms and, keep me in gas money to get here. So that's how we do it. And we have an executive producer today. They were the biggest tipper on a previous show, and that is going to be April. April, how do I love thee? I miss April. You guys don't know April. You know April from the chat room, but April, when you see April, I used to have this experience every Tuesday night at trivia, and sometimes on Wednesday, because she was a grand supporter of trivia. She would come out to everyone. When you see April, you can't help but start to smile because she can't help but smile. She's always got this big smile, and her energy is so soft and so optimistic. I love you, April, and I miss you. I miss you and Bill. You, me, Bill, and James, and it used to be fun, man. It used to be fun. Life used to be fun. So thank you so much, April. She is today's executive producer. And if you would like to be the executive producer for tomorrow's show, all you got to do is be the big tipper. Drop the most if you are so inclined in either the Cash App or the Venmo, and we'll see if we can keep the show going for another month. We're in real trouble. We need $150 bad. We need $156. and by the way, after that number, I have zero. that's what we need to get these bills paid. It is already the 11th of the month, and we haven't paid our bills. So, but that's how we do. We're typical struggling Americans, right? That's what we do here. All right. Back to the chat room, back to saying hello to all of the good folks who are hanging out with me today. We left off with Peter. We awarded Amy the executive producer title of today's show. Who else do we have? Jordan. Oh, Jordan's a friend of Maddie's. Hi, Jordan. Welcome to the show, Jordan. We also have, seriously, this Facebook situation. I did it again. My big dumb fat fingers did it again. Look at me. Now I'm in the corner and there's nothing else to be seen. Don't worry. We're going to get into some topics. I promise you. We're going to get moving here. Remove that. There we go. All right. We're back to normal. Let me keep going. Who else do we have here? Glenda, Maddie's mom, get out of here. Hey, Maddie's mom, here's something that moms appreciate. Hey, Maddie's mom, my mom loves your daughter. My mom likes your daughter. There you go. So that ought to make you feel good. Mom to mom. Apparently you've got a daughter who oppresses other moms. That's got to be important to moms. Nice to meet you. Thank you for coming by today. KB's here. Kevin's here. There's our exec producer, April. Of course, she's here. Who else? I have difficulty with my big fat fingers scrolling here. Jen's here. We got to make sure we give everybody the good shout outs. Jen is here. Barney's here, of course. Hi, Barnes. Thank you, Barney. Barney tipped yesterday. Appreciate you, Barney. I appreciate you, buddy. Who else do we have running through all of these? Boy, people are having a real conversation here in the chat room right now. All right, I can't go any further. All right, and you know what? April's the important one. April is today's executive producer. What's going on here? What did I just do? All right, let's see. The first thing that we're going to talk about today is... So I told you yesterday at the start of the show, if you remember, I was like, I don't like the way things are looking around here today. It's a little, we are in the tornado season here in Chicago. By the way, that's something that when I moved to Texas, Texans are very provincial about their tornadoes. They're like, you don't have tornadoes. I'm like, what? What are you talking about? The Midwest doesn't have tornadoes. We have tornadoes here in Texas. And then, you have to explain to people about Tornado Alley and about the role that the Great Lakes play in sucking all those things up straight into that. And then when you look at the Great Lakes, you can see that the first city that you hit is Chicago. And the Chicago area has a lot of tornadoes, a lot of them, historically speaking. Texas has a lot of tornadoes too. I'm saying this. We are brothers and sisters in tornadoes. Okay. Our tornado season, Illinois' tornado season, is the most freaky in the months of March and April and October and November. If you get an early spring tornado, which is what we were brewing yesterday here in the Chicago area, if you get an early spring tornado, it's usually far more violent than one that may occur in like late May or something like that. Same goes for November. If you get, they're very rare here in the Chicago or in the Midwest, but if you get a November tornado, that means that it's been unseasonably warm for a couple of days. Like it's November 10th and it's been like 70. And then the temperature drops to 30 and you get really bad tornadoes. Well, yesterday I started the show by going, man, they're all saying that we're like, we're basically just a petri dish for tornadoes today. And so this is going to be a scary night. And they weren't wrong. Last night was one of the most violent nights that I have ever experienced here growing up in the great Midwest. It was insane. And when you look at the path of these storms, what I thought was most interesting was that it began in Dallas-Fort Worth and ended in Chicago or the south end of Lake Michigan. It was freaky, man. So yesterday at about 6:00 when I got home. Now you have to understand, I do this show from the south side of Chicago. Okay, the show is in a studio here on the south side of Chicago. And the south side of Chicago, although historically we had the famous Oak Lawn tornado back in 1968 or 69 that killed a tornado ripped through the south side of Chicago like in 68, and it hit two things. It hit a high school, not good, and then it jumped Oak Lawn High School and landed on the Oak Lawn roller rink where the high school was hosting a roller skating party. Oh my God. So that was a really bad one. That was back in the 60s. So the south side of Chicago, where I do the show from the studio, we're safe from tornadoes. Typically, by the time it gets to this level of, construction and build up, that, tornadoes aren't as scary as they were. Some tiles or roofs might get, but it's not a problem here once you get close to the city proper. The suburbs, however, get hammered. And although I do the show from here, I am living with my mother in the meantime right now. So I'm living out in this big family house that is in the far south. Big family. It's not a big family house, but it's far in the south suburbs. And it's in a very rural area. It's a gated community on a lake and on a wetland. And there's a lot of opportunity for like crazy weather to occur there. So I left here and I get down there and it's 6 o'clock and I'm making dinner. My mom's not feeling well, so I'm making her dinner and, doing everything. And we got the TV, local news on, right? And you know what that is? That's the scary stuff. That's where they're not doing regular programming. It's just the entire team of local weather people throwing it to one another going, what are you looking at over on Doppler? And they're like, well, we've got something brewing out here just west of Aurora. It's going to come through Joliet. It's like all of that. And they're scaring the shit out of us. Meanwhile, there is nothing happening outside. We're sitting here. We're looking at the radar. We are literally looking at the radar on TV, and they are calling out tornadoes as they're hitting the ground in the far south suburbs and Bourbonnais and Kankakee, which Kankakee is about 5 miles from where I stay, right? Bourbonnais is Kankakee's 7, Bourbonnais is like 5. Okay, so I'm very close. We are very close to this area where all of this is happening, except we've got sunny skies. We've got sunny skies, and there is no problem whatsoever. And we are literally watching on television, live camera, live TV coverage of a tornado just ripping through a town just 2 towns south. So it's a little bit worrying. That came through. That tornado was really bad. That thing, I haven't seen much of the stuff from today yet, but I imagine that there's some real, we'll talk about it. The Kankakee tornado from last night. We got some video. We're going to watch that here in a second, but it jumped across 57, which if you're looking at a map, we live where I live. We're right off 57 at about 7:30. This is how I knew it was bad. I can look out my back window and I can see 57, Interstate 57, which runs from Chicago to Memphis. And if you were going to Kankakee or Bourbonnais where these tornadoes struck last evening, you would take 57. I looked out my back window about an hour and a half after this, and there was a parade of emergency vehicles racing down 57. There was probably 50 fire trucks, police cars, ambulances, everything just racing from every community to try and get down there to Kankakee because it was bad. All right, so that's what happened there. So we had nice weather. It was fine. We're like, Jesus, I guess it's going to miss us. And it did. It just missed us. These storm fronts, they got to stop somewhere. And sometimes you're on the lucky side of it. So that one missed us. And then we got our ass kicked right around midnight. At midnight, we had a thunderstorm with flooding and high winds. I didn't go to sleep until 4 o'clock in the morning because I kept waiting to hear the tornado sirens. Luckily, we didn't get that. When we woke up in the morning, everything was okay. Some things were thrown around. It was garbage night. Some people in the neighborhood had their garbage cans knocked over and all that. That's to be expected. But no real bad tornado damage or anything like that, like we saw just a couple of miles to our south last night. So that was good. Now, I wake up this morning. Remember, it was 70 yesterday. It was 70, and it was cold front was coming, so it was a little overcast, and it looked a little scary, like it could get scary, and it did get scary, but it was 70. People were sitting outside enjoying, the day yesterday. It's going to snow today. They are calling for snow now at 6 o'clock tonight. The snow is going to come through. What the hell? Midwest and your crazy 4 seasons. Let's watch some of this. Let's look at this. This is some of the coverage that we saw yesterday. Actually, no, this isn't coverage. This is actually, let's look at the storm damage. It was a big one, guys. It was a big Sorry, guys. Here's the thing. We're going to show you this. I'm sorry. Restream kicked me off for a second. It takes a while to get the sound back and the cameras back and all that, but we're back now. So I'm going to show you the first footage here. This is from Kankakee. Now, I want to point this out about tornado footage, and I always have this problem. Whenever you see footage of a tornado, it's typically the aftermath, right? And I always have this problem where I can't tell if the place was a dump to begin with, or you know what I mean? Like, you see like an industrial park wiped out and you're like, well, was it shitty like that to begin with? Or is that, sometimes it's hard to tell. This isn't. This is a beautiful neighborhood in Kankakee. Look at this. This is in the moments following the tornado coming through. And we're going to look at the tornado. Here's how you know how strong it is. Those are like big, giant, flourishing trees. Every single leaf, everything. It looks like the bark has been stripped off these trees. This is a nice neighborhood that is gone. You see like that? Like, I look at that and I'm like, well, was that there before? Because I don't know. It probably wasn't. Look at that. Man, I'm sorry. I just don't know that there are many things scarier than a tornado. I don't know why they're applauding for that. That's weird. All right, here's an actual look at the tornado. When I tell you this was a big one that was on the ground for a while, luckily, and here's the lucky thing, this actual part of the Chicago metropolitan area is very rural, as is with Texas, right? You get just a little bit outside the big urban areas, and all of a sudden you're like in Hooterville. That's kind of what this is like. Here, let's show you this one. This is the size of the tornado. This is it on the ground. And again, it was on the ground for about 15 miles, jumped over into Indiana and really did some damage over there as well. Here, let's look at this one. Here we go. This is it. This is, oh man, make it bigger. That's what she said. I know I do that every day. Here you go. Look at the size of that thing. Just came rolling through. That's like a mall. It's just like going through a mall or something. This is, I think, maybe from 57. That's the road that I was telling you. Oh, these must be storm chasers, right? You see the car next to them? Vortex 1. That's got to be one of these weird-ass storm chaser guys. And I call them weird-ass because on some level I'm a bit jealous. I'd like to be able to do that for a living. All right, there's that one. Let's see. What else do we have here? So these are all from Kankakee, by the way. And then it crossed over 57 and went straight into Indiana. Oh, here's another good one. This is big. This is approaching somebody's home. Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Look at the size of that thing.
Look at the hail hitting the river.
Yeah, look at that. Look at the river. That's the Kankakee River. Sounds like, okay, I don't know why I can't stop these. Here it comes. Are we going to see it? It's going to hit the water. Look at the size of that hail. I know. If you're from Texas, you're like, that's normal hail.
Where's it going, babe?
Straight to Aroma Park.
Well, call your mom.
I mean, what can you do? Well, what can you do? You just hope that it doesn't hit you, right? You just, I hate these. Well, basements, right? That's an advantage that they have here in the Midwest. You can go into a basement, and then if the house gets taken, I guess. All right, here's another one. This is the aftermath of that tornado, the one that we just saw there. Okay, so this is a view of what that thing did. Let's see what this way. There we go. Oh, man. Okay, so this is going to be like a drone shot, I guess. I'm guessing that was probably a collection of a number of houses and structures. I can't tell. Right, this all looks pretty rural. See, if you're trying to assess like what the overall damage will be now, like 12, 18 hours after this happened, it looks like we got some fires burning out here. I don't know what's happening. It's all pretty rural. This all looks pretty rural. So, thankfully it didn't yikes. Yikes. All right, let's check out. Here's the last one that I'm going to show you here. This is it from Indiana when it jumped across. Look, there's been a lot of talk about Chicago and Indiana the last couple of months because of the Bears moving to Indiana. And a lot of people who don't know their ass from a fucking hole in the ground are like, wow, they're going to be called the Indiana Bears. You guys, you got to realize Indiana is across the street from Chicago, okay? It's not like you don't have to get on an expressway and drive for an hour to get to this next state. Literally, there are places in Chicago where you live in Chicago and your buddy who lives across the street in the neighborhood lives in Indiana. That's just how the borders are, okay? So it's not crazy when you say it goes from Kankakee to Indiana. Anyway, here it is. That was from the Kankakee side. Here's one from Indiana. This was again last night. This is what we all went through here. Indiana had, this is the same tornado. This is the same one. Check this out. This is like nightmare fuel, as it says here in the description, because you only see it once the lightning goes.
Did you get it? Picture of it?
I'm getting a video.
It makes you think, man. Guys, one thing you know about me, if you listen to this show with any regularity, I'm obsessed with death. I'm not afraid of it. I'm intrigued by it, curious as to what this whole thing is about, and does anything happen, or is it just black? I'm fascinated by that. But I always tell you, man, don't take your next breath for granted, right? Don't think that you can be an asshole to somebody today because they'll get over it or you'll make up for it. No, man, you never know when our last breath will be our last breath. You can have an aneurysm explode. You can have your heart explode. You can have any number of things happen. You can hit by a bus not looking the right way when you're crossing the street. Life is very precarious. We are in danger at all time, not just from guys with guns and immigrants, but we are in danger from our own cholesterol, undiagnosed blood clots, all kinds of things. Life is temporary. And these are the kinds of situations that make me go, geez, even God is against us. Every now and again, God just throws a little curveball down through the middle of the United States or wherever else. What can you do about that other than just sit there and watch this thing come towards your house? I mean, I guess if it gets close enough, you go in the basement. I never understood what I was supposed to do in Texas because I lived through some pretty severe weather in Texas. And growing up in the Midwest, you never think you're going to die from a tornado because you're like, I'll just go in a hole in the ground. I'll just go in the basement. I'll go under the bar in the basement and I'll watch TV and then the house above me will be gone, but I'll climb out afterward. That was always sort of a sense of security for us here. Texas is scary, man. Y'all don't have basements. Y'all, I don't know where here's something that I thought about. What if you could just build, is this a thing in Texas or in places where you can't hide from tornadoes with basements? What if you sold people cement boxes, just really heavy cement boxes that could withstand any hurricane or tornado? Like a shelter, because whenever I see bomb shelters, they're always underground, but you can't go underground in Texas. So what if it was just I don't know, like a cement box and you can just go and sit in there? How much could I charge for that? Probably about $2,000 in cement. You provide your own cushions and shit. It's just a cement box. $2,000 in cement. It's America. So I could probably sell that for $40,000, $38,000 markup. Let's do it. Let's sell cement boxes to people afraid of tornadoes there in places you can't have basements. It was a rough night last night, guys. It really was. All right, let's talk about gas prices because gas prices are something that we're all interested in. MSNBC, MS Now. They're trying to rebrand because, they were, what the heck did I see? You know what, man? I don't know what I just did. I just did something to my screen that screwed everything up for a minute. All right, let's take the temperature of the average American. Let's talk about the high rising gas prices. MSNBC, which is now MS Now, they went out into Douglasville, Pennsylvania yesterday and just started harassing fine folks at the local Royal Farms Market. Look. Oh. God. 10-second ad, because this is a clip from Mediaite and they don't allow it. Says skip ad, but it doesn't let you skip, so I don't know.
MS Now's Will McDuffie at a gas station in Douglasville, Pennsylvania. Will, prices keep climbing. What are Pennsylvanians willing to take?
Well, it depends who you ask, Anna, but people aren't happy. And
let me just say, this is my price. This is the price that I've most recently paid here in Illinois. I haven't seen what my local gas station is at today. This was yesterday at $3.69.
Why would they be? I mean, the price increases have gotten insane. And you mentioned the monthly difference. So much of that price spike has happened just in the last week and a half since the war started. And we spoke to a man yesterday who said that just in the time between filling up his car at the same gas station, the price to fill up went up about $20. So that just goes to show what people are feeling here. We spoke to some folks in the Harrisburg area yesterday. Let's take a listen.
Around about 45, 50 cents more today than last week, almost 5 days ago.
That's a lot in a short amount of time.
That's exactly what I said yesterday. That is exactly what I said yesterday when I told you about what I paid last week and what I paid on Sunday.
Yeah, that's a lot. If it keeps going, it's not going to be good.
As for right now, I'm less than a quarter of a tank, so it's between getting gas or going to the grocery store to get food for my kids.
I actually stopped driving because gas prices have gone so high.
All right, I just have one question. I just need to pause this right here. I got a question. Did they like, is this just a rando who happened to be there, or did they go, hey, let's get a really weird looking person? What is going on with this person? This person's got like a bad tattoo on their face. Their hair is purple. And this is not a person. No, well, it's MSNBC. See, MSNBC wants to be all inclusive. And look, even the weirdos have a take on this. I don't care what this person has to say about anything. Look at the choices they've made in their life. They've got a tattoo on their face. I'm supposed to be moved by their hot takes on gas prices? I don't think so.
High. I can't even afford to really go to work, so I've resulted in taking the bus now.
Oh my God! Yes, this is a bus person. This is who you see on the bus. Look at what is bad choices. Meth teeth, right? This is drug addiction. This is America. You're on, dude.
And if it wasn't enough if it wasn't enough just to feel the price increase when you fill up your own car, keep in mind that trucking companies, because the price of diesel has.
I don't give a shit about trucking companies, okay, dude? I don't care about them. What I care about is me. I care about how much it takes me to get to the studio every day. I am spending a good $15 more every week just trying to perform this show, and we are still 150 below what the number we need. So yeah, we're hemorrhaging money. Gas prices aren't helping, but we're gonna survive. Look, there was actually a conversation held yesterday about how I may start doing, I may start living here at the studio just because if the gas prices keep going up, I've got about a 45-minute commute every day between, where I do the show and where I lay my head. So the upside of that, staying here just to save some money on gas and doing shows, the upside of that is that I'll be able to do night shows. I'll do some night shows, which would be good. Once again, folks, remember, regular people, we're not moved. We're not moved politically, emotionally, socially. We're not moved by the stock market. We're not moved by gross domestic product. We're not moved by national debt. These are all things that do not affect us every day when we work out how much of a budget do I have to spend today. Gas prices. That's what people react to. That's what the great unwashed, we, the peasants of this country, that's what we react to. Gas prices. That's real. We feel that. How high will we accept these gas prices? I don't know. They say it's going to get a lot worse. They say it doesn't seem like it's going to. It's because what the gas companies, the oil companies do. they will find a reason to raise the price of a barrel of oil in any place they can find it. Like if there is a shipping accident in Southeast Asia, we'll see gas prices in Ohio go up 5 cents and they'll go, well, there was a problem in Southeast Asia. I mean, that's how duplicitous they've always been with their rationale for rising and lowering gas prices. This is not duplicitous. This is a very real problem for, the oil producing people and us who use oil. Talking about releasing, what is this? Apparently, and I didn't know about this. Well, I mean, I kind of probably assumed that there was something like this, but I was unfamiliar with the actual organization. There's a global organization that stockpiles oil. Like not just us. We know we talk about our national reserves all the time. Like we have our own national reserves, but there is a global kind of group that stockpiles oil, and they're about to release 400 million gallons of oil to try and stop the rising price. Now we here in America, our gas sucks, right? We always complain about our gas prices. It's never been, they do a good job of keeping it right to the point where we lose our shit. $3.99 a gallon for too long, we're going to lose our shit. So just before we lose our shit, they'll drop it down to $3.79 a gallon and we'll see a downward movement and we'll be momentarily placated. But if this shit starts going, like, could you imagine $5, $6, $7 a gallon? How long will we, the rank and file Americans, put up with that? I don't care how much they try to release in reserve to sort of offset these problems. That's going to come back to haunt us. At some point, we're going to pay for the release of these. So gas prices, this is a very big thing to watch. Like I said, we have a president who has never He's never sweated the price at the pump before in his life. Never. Not a single damn time has Donald Trump ever moved on to another gas station because the one on this corner was about 5 cents more. That's not how he lives our life, okay? Call him the blue-collar billionaire president if you want, but you'd be stupid because this man doesn't share any of the daily things that you and I share. We are real people. He is not a real person, gas prices. Let's talk a little bit about Kristi Noem. We played last week for you, Kristi Noem's gone. Hey, has anybody seen her? Like, what is she doing now? Like, she was special envoy. She was named special envoy to that made-up shakedown racket that Trump has going with all of the, Central and South American countries. She was given a title with that, but I don't know if there's any real responsibilities. I don't know if there's any real expectations for her. I don't know what she's supposed to be doing. She used to be a cabinet secretary. And then, everything went squirrely with ICE and they ran out of people to blame. So she fell. She had to go. And it was after she appeared in front of Congress 2 weeks ago where she was grilled by everybody from the leftiest lefto to the rightiest righto. They all had a problem with Kristi Noem. And at that point, it kind of became apparent to the president that she doesn't even have Republican support. So she had to go and she was gone. But one of the things that was revealed and one of the reasons that was used as justification for getting rid of Kristi Noem was that she didn't seem to have any control or any desire to control the budget. There was a lot more money that was given to her department, and it was supposed to be used for things that were justified in the initial, budget increase. But she did crazy things with it, as we found out. She bought a whole bunch of Lear jets for her and her friends. She claimed that she was buying these jets so that they could transport illegal immigrants, right? We need more planes to transfer. I could just put them on a United flight. We can't just put them on an American flight. I know Southwest flies to Mexico and they've got reasonable prices. No, Kristi Noem decided she was going to go out and buy special aircraft to transport these people. Well, it turns out what she bought was 6 really nice luxury Lear jets. The one that she personally flies around with was outfitted with a bedroom and all kinds. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. So she was grilled by all of these senators. Basically, it was like this. Why did you buy a private airplane for yourself and then make it a luxury bedroom? Because we had permission to do this because we were flying illegals out of the country. Did you fly any illegals out of the country on that plane? No. So it's bullshit. So this is the grift. These people are kids in a candy store. There are no checks on them. They can spend whatever they want on whatever they want. And that's what we are now seeing as the dust settles from the Kristi Noem firing. One of the other things that she was blamed for or accused of was not being responsible with the promotion of the ICE activities. She was given a budget, as is often the case when the government has a new initiative. They like to inform the public on what this initiative is about. So it's not crazy to think that she would be given a budget to create commercials. But what she did was she created a really expensive commercial. I don't know who she had exec producing these deals, but we're supposed to be cleaning up the swamp. And in this case, it looks like the swamp cleaned us up, because she spent, hold on, let me get you the story here, $220 million on her little glamour shot horseback riding, we're going to kick the bad people out commercial. Now, I saw we all saw it. It was airing, on network TV. I'm not certain. Did it air during the Super Bowl? I think it did. I think there was an ICE ad with Kristi Noem that aired during the Super Bowl. So $220 million for a commercial of that nature is absolutely absurd. It's insane. To say nothing of the Super Bowl ad buy. You didn't need to waste taxpayer dollars like that. You could have saturated using normal broadcast ad buys. But no, she went with the Super Bowl ad for just stupid, bad misuse of our dollars. And that's what got her into trouble. So now there's a story out today that wants to show you exactly how absurd her budget was for this 30-second commercial where she's on a horse. Kristi Noem charged the American people $220 million for that ad campaign. Do you know that is more than every movie that is nominated for an Academy Award this year? $200 million used to be the benchmark for a Hollywood blockbuster film that would run 2 hours and had these exorbitant paydays for these big stars. Kristi Noem spent $220 million of our money on a commercial, a 30-second commercial. During last week's hearings, Republican and Democratic lawmakers grilled Noem on how the Department of Homeland Security came to spend roughly $220 million on the advertising push last year, which included a widely circulated 1-minute spot showing 1 minute. Sorry, I said 30. 1 minute spot showing Noem riding a horse near Mount Rushmore while warning migrants about the consequences of illegal immigration. Which, by the way, we spent all that money on that, and now the president is officially saying that, those people don't have to worry. We're not upset about migrants. Migrants do a job that we need done here. We need the fruit picked. We need, houses retiled. I don't know what the hell they do, but you know what I'm saying? She in this commercial is like, if you just came into this country, you're an illegal immigrant and we're going to get rid of you. Well, the president is totally saying that's not true anymore. So even the messaging that we overpaid for was incorrect by today's standard. It says here, let's see, she spent roughly $220 million on the advertising push last year, included that crazy commercial, her on a horse near Mount Rushmore, warning migrants about the consequences of illegal immigration. This figure of $220 million eclipses the production and marketing budget of this year's biggest Oscar contenders. Here's an example, okay? Paul Thomas Anderson's political drama, One Battle After Another, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Benicio del Toro, carried a combined budget of $200 million. Have you seen that movie? That's a big movie. There is a lot more shit going on in the 2.5, 3 hours that movie plays than in the 1 minute Kristi Noem commercial. So how the fuck did she get charged $220 million? $200 million for One Battle After Another. That's a big movie. There are sweeping scenes in that movie. Things are exploding. One Battle After Another, $200 million. Kristi Noem's commercial, $220 million. How about Timothy Chalamet and Marty Supreme, directed by Josh Safdie? That cost a mere $70 million. That's right. Kristi Noem's commercial was almost 3 times the price of the 3-hour Marty Supreme. Ryan Coogler's supernatural horror film, Sinners, starring Michael B. Jordan, that cost $140 million. So $80 million more Kristi Noem needed to make that $1 million. Stop telling me they're cleaning up the swamp, okay? Stop it. There is no checks and balances with what these people are spending money on. Have you seen the reports today about Pete Hegseth spending $2 million of our tax dollars in a month on steak and lobster? Yeah. Pete Hegseth is next to go into the frying pan because you guys voted to clean up the swamp because you believed a fucking sociopath. You bought the lies of somebody who normal people could look at and go, this guy is full of shit. But you people went, yeah, he's going to clean up the swamp. You got played. And it's time that you admit it. All right, moving on. Let's see. How about Begonia? Begonia only cost $80 million. Train Dreams cost $10 million. Hamnet. It's Hamnet. I always want to call it Hamlet. It's Hamnet. That only costs $30 million. So there you have it. Just another example of how you're told they're cleaning up the swamp, and that's good enough for you. They said they're cleaning up the swamp, so they're cleaning up the swamp. How much did she spend? How much? Pete Hegseth, he's sitting around. Pete Hegseth is flying around the world on some fancy taxpayer dollar private jet, throwing fucking big bucket, throwing lobster tails in his mouth like a goddamn walrus. We're paying for it. The president likes McDonald's. See, this is the thing. They ain't like him. The president will have McDonald's. The president don't want steak and lobster all the time. He's a big fan of the Big Arch. All right, let's talk about this next story. And then we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back with Maddie on the other side. Maddie's got a whole thing she wants to get into. I'll let her tell you about it. All right, more weirdness out of the Trump. And this is just weirdness. Do you guys know the story about Trump and his shoes? Have you seen this story going around? See, I don't like to take the bait on the little things. I always tell you, look, we can't get bent out of shape on everything that Trump does that triggers us because all he does is trigger us. All he does is shit that's like, what the fuck is he doing? That's all he does. He says things that we don't know how to react. We cannot take the bait on everything. But sometimes there's just petty little things that are hysterical. And this is hysterical. This is funny. Trump is making everybody in his personal universe wear the kind of shoes that he likes to wear. Trump likes to wear men's black Florsheim shoes for a reasonably priced $125. That's right. This is not, if you're a fancy man, you're a fancy president man, you're a fancy, secretary in the president's cabinet man. If you're one of those guys, you're probably not wearing $125 dress shoes. You probably got $300 dress shoes. You probably got some real fancy leather. You sure as fuck ain't going to Florsheim. My grandpa went to Florsheim. Florsheim is where Trump goes to, and he loves the shoes. So what he's been doing is, apparently, he's been looking at everybody's shoes, making shitty comments, and then handing them a box of shoes to wear. Your shoe sucks. You ought to wear shoes like mine. And then he snaps his finger, and one of his little toadies comes running out with a box of shoes and shoves it in somebody. All right. But now they got to wear them. See, because Trump's very sensitive. We know that he's very sensitive. So if Trump gives you shoes as a gift, every time you see Trump, you now got to go, fuck, what shoes am I wearing? I got to wear the shoes that he wants me to wear, or else he's going to be mad. And who knows, he'll probably tweet about what a jerk I am. Right? That's the fear. So all of these men, all of our so-called leaders, all of our great men of the age are all just kowtowing to this freak show and wearing the shoes he demands they wear. It's absolutely hysterical. This is nuts. This is like could you, and they're, I don't know what's worse. The president of the United States expecting people to wear the shoes that he demands they wear, or that his cabinet are so nutless that they just go, I better wear these shoes then. Come on, man. What is happening in this country? Trump is reportedly giving shoes to staffers, and everybody's afraid not to wear them. That's the headline. President Donald Trump has been doling out shoes to his aides who are reportedly afraid of being seen wearing other footwear. The Wall Street Journal reported on Monday that the president has given leather Oxfords to staff, agency leaders, lawmakers, and other bigwigs. In cabinet meetings, he's even asked his department heads, did you get the shoes? Trump is partial to Florsheim shoes, which are relatively affordable, with many pairs costing around $125 to $150. All of the boys have them, said one female White House official. All of the boys love his cheap shoes. I mean, I understand that, like, when you got a boss, you got to do certain things to placate the boss, and God forbid you have a nutty boss, because then you got to placate him with nutty activity. I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. I'd be like if I showed up not wearing his shoes, and he's like, "You're not wearing the shoes," I'd be like, "Yeah, no, I'm not." But where do we go from there, right? It's like, no, I'm not. I'm not wearing your shoes, boss. I'm sorry. They rub my ankles. They're not comfortable for me. President Donald Trump has been doling out shoes to aides. They cost around $125 to $50, and all the boys have them, said one White House official. This is from the Wall Street Journal. The president is taken to guessing people's shoe sizes in front of them. So this is now a new bit. Oh, welcome in. Come on in. Sit down. What are you, an 11.5 wide? What's going on? The president has taken to guessing people's shoe size in front of them. He asks an aide to put in an order, and a week or so later, a brown Florsheim box arrives at the White House. Trump sometimes signs the box or attaches a note of gratitude. According to people familiar with the ritual, the 79-year-old billionaire, known for expensive Brioni suits, long red ties, and a penchant for aesthetics, late last year began searching for something that would feel better after a day on the job, and settled on these Florsheim shoes. Also, doesn't this guy have like diseased ankles? Like maybe this is like a shoe that just feels good for people with diseased ankles, and now he's making everybody else wear the weird orthopedic shoes so he doesn't feel so insecure about it. Is that what this is? Does he have to wear special shoes because of his bum wheels? And now he's just making everybody wear special shoes? I think that's probably part of it. In January, the New York Times reported that Vice President J.D. Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio had each received 4 pairs of shoes from the president. The Journal said that Vance and Rubio received the pairs during a cabinet meeting back in December. Trump had reportedly told the two that their kicks were lacking. You need to wear these cool orthopedic Florsheims. All the kids are wearing them. Vance lifted his leg in the air to show the president that he was currently wearing the shoes. You fucking kiss ass. All right, so he's making people wear shoes. Here, we got pictures. You think I'm crazy? Look at this. Here. This is his cabinet. Look at all these dudes. They're all wearing the exact same shoes, and you can see them. Here we go. Whoop, there we go. All right. Okay. Let's go through this. We got Rubio down here. These are okay. First, this is like the test, right? So this is what we're measuring. So we've got Trump. He's wearing they are all absolutely the same fucking pair of shoes, and they all look very happy about being forced. Do you think they change them? Like the minute they leave the president's presence, are they changing their shoes in the back of the limo, going, "Give me my shoes back. These are stupid." Such a weird thing. This guy's got such weird things. This is just so, not something that you'd expect from a president. All right, now let's talk about Marco Rubio, because this is pretty funny. Apparently, Marco Rubio's shoes that he's being forced to wear don't even fit him. Yeah, we've got some pictures here. All right, so here's Marco Rubio. This is Marco Rubio wearing the shoes that his, boss demands that he wear. Let's see. Marco Rubio mocked for wearing oversized shoes. All right, hold on. Look at him. All right, here you go. Here's the picture. Did we lose it? I think we might have lost the picture. Boop, 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 boop. Yeah, there we go. All right, yeah, we'll do this one instead. All right, this picture is better. Okay. All right. So these are the shoes that Trump gave to Marco Rubio. They do not fit Marco Rubio, but Marco Rubio is still wearing them because he's an unbelievable pussy. Look at this. Look at the space. Wait, here. Look at the space here in the back. Look at that. This is like a whole side. Well, he misjudged. Marco's, little Marco. Trump probably couldn't believe that Marco was actually as small as he thought, so he got him bigger shoes. And now Marco's got to walk around wearing shoes that don't fit, cheap shoes that he doesn't want to wear that don't fit. Why? Because we've got a psychopath in the presidency. Jesus. All right, that's fun, wasn't it? We just took off after Trump and his crazy shoes. Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a quick break. When we come back on the other side of this, it's gonna be what's on Maddie's mind for a Wednesday. She's gonna regale us with whatever it is that's on the top of her mind today. And then after that, we're gonna do some sports stuff. And we got a whole bunch of other stuff. So hang out with us. I need a quick break. I need to freshen my coffee. I need to go to the bathroom. Give me about 5 minutes. We'll be back with the second half of the show right after this. All right. We are back. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Got my hot cup of coffee. Ooh, hold on one second. Why did I think it was Thursday? Oh man, sorry. I've got things listed as Thursday. Hold on. Hold on, guys. See, if I had a producer, this would be easy. All right. Sorry about that. All right, we're back. All right. There we go. Didn't save it. There we go. Now we saved it. All right. We a couple of times a week we like to stop in with our friend Maddie. She likes to regale us with whatever it is that is on her mind. So let's play What's on Maddie's Mind. Hi, Maddie.
Hey, everybody. I want to give a quick shout out to my mom.
Moms are the best. Who's your mom? Oh, your mom's in the chat room today, right? Yeah.
She is. She's going off in there. She just called Trump a bully.
He is. He's a weirdo. All right. So, as I said, I like to have you on because you are interested in things that I'm not necessarily following, but you always intrigue me with your presentation. So tell me on this Wednesday, what's on Maddie's mind?
Well, first of all, Pugs, are you a numbers guy? A little bit?
No.
No.
I'm not a math guy. No.
Not a numbers guy. So we're going to make this fun, but I do have a quick task. I want you to remember the number 1385. We're going to bring that number back up. Your job for the first part of this bit is just to remember the number 1385.
I got to write that down. There's no way. That is such a big ask for me. Okay. 1386. Gotcha. Let's go.
Yeah, 1385, but you can add another number to it. That's fine. But anyway, we're going to go back in the Wayback Machine because Pugs and I are Gen Xers.
Can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Not kidding. Completely forgot the number. What's the number? 13 or 1865?
This is getting off to a beautiful start.
I know. Well, I told you I'm not a numbers guy. Was it 1685?
1385.
13. All right, I'll do it with little triggers. 13 evil, and what was it? 85?
85.
All right, Cole Komet. Evil Cole Komet. That's how I'm going to remember that number. All right, go ahead, continue.
Okay. So, but we're going to have a little fun first. So we're going to go back in the Gen X Wayback Machine, and we're going to bring back some good memories that we should have both from our MTV generation. Do you remember back in the late 80s, early 90s when MTV was participating in a huge initiative? There was a lot of advertising, a lot of famous musicians, people we might not even expect to participate in this, that they used to have some promotions out there for Rock the Vote. You remember Rock the Vote?
Sure. I actually did work with Rock the Vote. They were a big sponsor of the station that I was on at the time. So I did a bunch of Rock the Vote MTV drives.
Okay, well, wonderful. So Rock the Vote came about because in the late 80s and the early 90s, voting had become wildly unpopular. In the 1990 midterm presidential election, less than 20% of the youth showed up to vote or were even registered to vote. And about 36% of total Americans even voted in that midterm election. And, obviously voting is important. And the reason why is because if we don't have a majority of people that show up, then there's not a majority opinion of these people that sit in office and make important decisions. So, they realized that voting was it was dropping off. People were not interested in it. People were not convinced that their votes mattered anymore. And so they started several initiatives, one of them being Rock the Vote. And so what wound up happening from Rock the Vote was that in the Clinton-Bush election, which happened 2 years later, 82.6% of Americans actually showed up to vote in the actual presidential election. So this was a very successful campaign.
Wait a second. 82% of eligible voters, right? 82% of registered eligible voters.
Eligible,
right?
Which
not 82% of Americans, but eligible.
Yeah,
that's
82%
a great
of registered voters. That's right.
That's an incredible turnout number.
Turnout. completely turned around from an initiative that was applied to everybody that reminded us all how important our vote is and how important it is for us to show up. And then Congress passed two major pieces of legislation. The NVRA, which is the National Voter Registration Act, which then resulted in another really important initiative, which was called Motor Voter. And Motor Voter enabled DMVs and public agencies to offer voter registration and made it easy and very seamless and transparent for people to simply register to vote.
All right,
And
so hold on. Let me just recap here. Just so what Maddie is talking about is there was a time in this country not too long ago, when back in the 1990s, when there was real concern about the problem that people in America weren't voting. They weren't getting involved. They weren't. Now this, you could say this has to do with, my main complaint about how we eliminated civics and people don't know what their duties are as a citizen. But the problem, the acknowledged, and most people agreed, the problem in the 90s was not enough people were turning out to vote. So there were initiatives to get the voter turnout get more. And it seems to have worked here. MTV was very instrumental in sort of getting the younger voters, involved and interested. But that was the 90s. And now here we are in 2026, and we seem to have the exact opposite problem where we're trying to limit the voter rolls. We're trying to get less people voting. Do I have that right? Am I following this correctly?
You are heading in the right direction.
Okay,
so,
continue.
So the last several decades, our main objective has been to get participation in voting. Two major pieces of legislation, the NVRA and the HAVA, which is the Help America Vote Act. Congress passed that initiative with a $3.9 billion budget to help modernize our elections. It provided education, public outreach, poll worker training, which is largely from volunteers, and billions of dollars have been spent to re-engage voters into the election cycles. So here we are today in 2026, and there has been a lot of talk about how our elections are being compromised, about how undocumented immigrants and people are voting fraudulently, and we should question these processes and all of these things. And so I decided I was going to do a little bit of investigation about this. Now, I know there's going to be some people in the chat are going to go, but yeah, Maddie, but what did you do? Did you go and find some liberal information that only the libtards fucking do?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
No, she didn't. She says.
I went directly to the source, which is the Heritage Foundation. Now, if anybody doesn't understand what the Heritage Foundation is, that is a conservative think tank.
Praise Jesus. That's what they're about.
It's a conservative think tank that was created in 1973, and they've been involved in a lot of different things. They do a lot of research and they write a lot of policy opinion. One of the most notable pieces of policy opinion that they wrote was Project 2025. But elections, how we conduct our elections and who participates in elections have been researched and databased and documented by the Heritage Foundation for years. So I decided to pull their own documentation, their own numbers, and understand what they're trying to say about why this SAVE Act, which now is being pushed on us in 2026, and how this could have come about.
All right, now hold on, because you just snuck that in there. We are talking about the SAVE Act, which is being, hotly debated right now. That is the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act. It's very controversial because of some of the things that are in this act that they are trying to be made into law. So that's what, when she says the SAVE Act, that's what we're talking about. This is what's happening right now today. So go ahead.
Correct. And while we've been watching this war unfold in front of us, quietly, this has now passed through the House. It hasn't made it through the Senate yet. And I do have some predictions of how I think this is going to go, but we'll tack that on at the end. So the Heritage Foundation, which is not a governing body, it's a conservative think tank, and they've been collecting data now for decades. And so approximately, let's compare some numbers here. We had 150 million people who voted in the most recent presidential election, which was the one that Trump won in 2024. That's a lot of people. 1385, that number that I asked you to remember.
All right, your mom posted it in the chat room, so I remembered it. 1385. Please continue.
She's a teacher. She knows stuff. That is the number of over a decade, longer than a decade. I couldn't even go back far enough. In over a decade of investigated, documented, charged, convicted, or overturned people who were thought of as committing election fraud.
All right, so 1,385 people have been accused of election fraud that you've
Correct.
been able to find, and you've been able to find this according to the far right think tank Heritage Foundation's own research.
That is right.
Okay.
That is right.
Right.
Out of decades of material, not one election cycle, not one mere midterm election cycle, decades.
Right.
Decades of research.
So look, what I believe is that there is no big widespread problem in this country with voter fraud. Okay, people who lose who are poor sports, they will claim that because that's better than having to admit people didn't like you, that you lost the election. This whole I've felt since 2020 now, when this really became a thing. This is such an issue for stupid people because it doesn't take a whole lot of research to find what Maddie just presented to us, which is that there is zero documented history of voter fraud, mass or otherwise, in this country. This is not a real problem, Maddie.
That is right. So the overcorrection here is now creating a scenario where disproportionately large groups of people will be disenfranchised from the voting process. Now, we've talked about this a little bit. You've touched on it lightly. And basically, I think that most Americans are under the assumption that simply what this SAVE Act is going to create is a accountability factor, which is that when you go to show up to vote, you just have to produce ID. And we could all agree that maybe a government issue ID is a realistic expectation, but that is not what the SAVE Act does. The SAVE Act also includes citizenship verification. You do not get verification of citizenship from a mere government issued ID. That is, you also then would have to present a passport, a birth certificate, a naturalization card, or things like that. But in addition to the fact that even when you show up to vote, you might be asked to provide these documents, it is also going to take every voting poll roll in every state and match it up to the DHS's role. And if your name is
hold on, wait. I need to stop you. I need to be able to jump in here just for clarification. So there are two steps in the voting process, okay? And we need to make a distinction between them because I think I heard you maybe just blur them a little bit. The first step is registering to vote. You don't do that on election day. You register to vote before you go to the polls. So registering to vote is one step. Then the second step is actual visiting the polls on election day. When you register to vote, you are being asked to provide proof of citizenship. Did I just hear you say that this act will ask people at the polls to produce proof of citizenship? Because they should have already done that when they were officially registered months before. That's just the way I think of it.
That is correct. So here's what this is going to create. If you are not already registered, you are going to have to provide ID and citizenship verification simply to register. But the thing is, I think that people are misunderstanding is that if you are unaware that there has been this change and you show up on voting day assuming that your prior registration is safe, you may find at the poll that you have been dropped from the roll because they are going to match names up with a DHS list of names. And if those names do not match, and we know that our government misspells things all the time, there could be a comma, a hyphen. If you've gotten married, changed your last name, any number of other things, and your ID that you would bring to just simply cast your vote does not match the poll or the roll in some way, then you will not be allowed to vote on voting day.
Okay, so if when you register, you get registered, and I don't understand this problem, Maddie. You're going to have to walk me through it, because if you register In Illinois, and this is pretty shocking, but in Illinois, the hoops we jump through is during the registration process. And I'm quite familiar with it because I just told you a couple weeks ago, I went through the whole driver's license experience where I also got myself re-registered and, set to vote. I had to provide all kinds of stuff at registration. However, in the state of Illinois, when it comes time for me to vote, I will walk into the polling place. They will ask me for my name. I will tell them my name, and then they will look to see if my name is on a roll, and then I'll go vote. I don't have to. I have never had to present ID. It seems to be very much sort of the honor system, where if I walk in and say I'm a name that's already registered, they have to allow me to vote. I'm pretty progressive minded, but even I see that as something that could be tweaked. Were you voting in, I guess what I'm asking is, were you voting in Louisiana? Do you have to provide identification at the poll? Because we do not have to do that in Illinois.
I don't recall in recent elections and last year and prior me ever having to bring in an ID. Yes, I walk in, give them my name, they look it up, I sign the little piece of paper, they let me vote. I'm not saying that an ID isn't appropriate here. What I'm saying is I think people will be surprised when they show up on voting day and discover that they could have been dropped from these polls. And
again, why are these reasons? What are the reasons they could be dropped? Because they're a woman who got a name change or something like that?
Married, simply married. How many people? 69 million women change their last name when they get married. Now that you might update your ID, your driver's license, but are you going to get a new birth certificate because your last name changed? No, you will not. So, I see a lot of men in the chat going, it's just so simple. You show up with your ID, but that's because that is your specific set of circumstances.
Yeah. Hold on. Hold on. I gotta drop Barney. Those are documents adult human persons should have. Says talk about entitlement. I know that's a word that makes Barney's head explode. This is such a grand example of someone who's oblivious to their own entitlement. Those are documents any adult human should. There are a lot of people with different backgrounds than you, Barney. There are a lot of people who are every bit the American citizen that you are that do not have all of these documents at the ready. I'm glad that you do. You are one of the exceptions to, you are one of the people who are doing it correctly. But just simply saying that in the manner in which Barney says it, that is entitlement. Those are documents adult human persons should all have. Well, I think they should before they register. I certainly do think that I think Barney's point is correct. I think that if you go to register months before the election, you should have your ducks in a row. You're introducing a new problem, which is if I'm a woman, when I go to register, if I do have a certain name and then a month later I get married and my name is different, you're saying that is now going to fuck me when I go to the polls. Yes?
It's possible unless you're being extremely proactive. And so my point I'm trying to make here is that we have a lack of apathy. We had to fight against American citizens having apathy towards elections. We've spent billions of dollars to try to encourage Americans to vote. And now we're creating layers of bureaucracy to stand in between this initiative that we have fought for, that people have reminded how important it is. And now simply by this act alone, what can or potentially will happen is that if we are not dialed into it today, you could wait until the day you go to vote, show up and simply not be able to cast your vote because you registered to vote when you were 18 years old. And since then you've been married and divorced 3 times and your name has changed, right?
Yeah. I get what you're saying, but I honestly, Maddie, I don't see this as a big problem. As I said, I see it as 2 steps. I don't know how many women are going to get caught up in this, situation where their name is changed, but they should have been on top of it. By the way,
you're assuming that people would be on top.
Yes, I am. I think that you need to be together. I think you need to have your life together to it. I think that I just went through the ringer. I had to make 3 trips to the DL, the driver's license facility, because I didn't have my ducks in a row, but I finally did. I finally did it. It was unnecessarily difficult in my estimation, but I was able to do it. And, I think other people can do it as well. I look, if you are not a legal citizen, how about this? Here's an idea. How about when you're born, we just tattoo a QR code on your head? There you go. And just every election, you just get scanned. There's just a scan. They scan the back of your neck. And that's how we know that you're an American citizen. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't understand the problem with having to prove who you are before you cast a vote as a citizen. I think that is reasonable.
I don't think ID is unreasonable. I think that we are making assumptions here that as normal functional adults, that you and I are truly dialed into the idea of being, that we also see examples every day of people who are not in the know like we are. We try to be on top of these things. And what is being said is that, hey, this is going to protect you. Don't worry about it. This is a widespread issue that's affecting millions of voters, and elections are being defrauded because of this. It is not. It is not even worth the time of the American citizens or Congress or Senate to even investigate this any further for 1,385 documented cases of this in over a decade. And I do truly believe that this is election interference at a high fucking level.
All right.
I believe it.
You just said something that is absolutely true, and we can't get away from that. There is not a problem of mass voter fraud in this country. Our elections are pretty much the envy of the world. We know how to do it here, okay? The Heritage Foundation, as Maddie described in her research, they're very conservative. They're very Republican. They're very right-wing. Their own research says that in 50 years of voter elections here in the country, only 1,300 people have been accused, or even that's the thing, right? It's accused. It's not even convicted. It's just cases of potential. That's it. So we don't even have 1,300 convictions of people who voted illegally. It is not a problem. It is something that is being designed for political reasons to sort of, make sure it's not as easy as them damn libs to vote. Homeless people, poor people, they're making it difficult for those people to vote. On that level, I completely understand people pushing back on this. But when the argument devolves into here, April is in the chat room. She says, in Texas, I have provided my ID as long as I can remember, probably could just bring my voter registration card, but I never keep up with that. That's in Texas. Got to show an ID. I just told you about Illinois. I have never had to show an ID, and I think I should at the polls have to prove who I am, as opposed to just walking in and going, my name is Pugs Moran. And they're like, oh, here you are, go vote. The honor system is nonsense. I do think that can be fixed. But as far
I have no problem with ID. I have no problem with proof of ID. But I also think that we're getting the idea conflated here of what voting is. So the right to drive, the right to buy a drink, because I see some comments about I have to show my ID to buy booze.
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. Those are privileges. Those are not constitutional rights. Our rights as citizens in this country to vote is a constitutionally protected right.
That's
it. It is not a privilege.
That's it. That is the difference. That's why you can't make these. I would love to be able to make the argument where I need to provide an ID to just get a bottle of beer. You're right. That those are not rights that are granted to natural born citizens here. Those are privileges that we enjoy in a civilized society. That's a good point.
And I certainly agree that people would be inconvenienced, like yourself was a couple of weeks ago, because driving is almost a necessity. I know where I live, I can't do what I do as for a living or get from one place to the other without the ability to drive or hold an identification. So as humans, our nature is to dive into things that are inconvenience to us because we want a convenient life. But we are not hardwired to look further into something that isn't necessarily an inconvenience to us today. And so that is my point here, is that they are banking on the idea, not that it could potentially cause a problem, but they are banking on the idea that many millions of Americans will be inconvenienced when they show up at the polls. And this disproportionately affects many groups of people, namely married women, 69 million of which change their name at marriage, the elderly, and the low income, because low income people often do not get identification because they cannot afford vehicles.
They don't drive.
That's right. Or the elderly, because part of this also is cranking down on absentee voting. My mother, who is well capable of driving, she mails in her vote every year. And he's saying that he only wants very specific guidelines by which you can mail in your vote as well. So this is going to be a much bigger problem. I'm going to get off into where I think this is headed, which I also aggravates me to no end.
All right, hold on. You just take a breath. just take a breath. We're having a conversation here.
I'm hot.
I know you are. I love the passion. Mike in the chat room says, mass fraud? Not yet. Make sure it doesn't happen, but the SAVE Act is overkill. Byron in the chat room says, Byron goes with, if you aren't responsible enough to keep your identity up to date, I do not want you picking leaders at any level. Now, let me address this because I tend to agree with the sentiment. I tend to agree. If you're just a complete trash human who doesn't know how to be a grown-up, then maybe you shouldn't be involved in any of the big decisions. I agree with that. However, that's not America, Byron. Byron doesn't love America. Byron
and
wants
that's not what our
something
Constitution
different.
says.
No.
Our Constitution says if you're an American citizen, you get to vote whether you're a retard or not.
Right.
You love that word retard.
Yeah.
Whether you're retarded or not, you get to vote. Sorry.
So I agree with Byron, but that's not the country that we pretend to love, okay? If you love America, you got to be okay with that. Byron doesn't love America. No, he doesn't. Apparently not. All right. Just kidding, Byron. Byron also says it allows non-citizens to vote illegally. Byron, again, that's not a problem. It's not an issue. It's a fear that has been put in your head because, I don't know, you want to believe this is happening. Your own Heritage Foundation has done decades worth of research that says that this is just simply not happening, Byron. But you've been ginned up and rattled, and now you think the election in 2020 was stolen. So that cat's out of the barn, and we can't fix Byron. Maddie?
That's it. He's also going further to say, but non-citizens abuse this. No, they don't. No, they don't.
Yeah, how can you say that? How do you know?
They're not abusing this.
I don't know how you know. All right, come on, wrap it up. Let's go. You got more here. I want to get out of here by 2:00, and I got more stuff I got to talk about. So hit me with your final takes here on the whole SAVE Act.
Final take is that it probably will pass the Senate. The Trump is calling for a filibuster, which all of you non-taking of civics probably need to go and read on what a filibuster is. I think that that's an interesting thing that might happen. But ultimately, I truly think that this is going to be struck down by SCOTUS. But my concern is that the wheels of justice are slow. And I think that we're going to get to this midterm election this fall, and this is going to be in place because SCOTUS will not have made a decision on this just yet. So we're going to see a challenged election. And if you thought that 2020 was fake or whatever other year was fake, guaranteed this one's going to be interfered with in a big way. And I'm waiting for the day when we all see all these crying people who are going to be standing outside the polls who were turned away because they were not allowed to cast their vote. That's my take. SCOTUS is going to find fault.
Let me ask you, are you a end the filibuster gal?
You know what? I would watch a good filibuster. I think that it's an interesting thing. We haven't seen a good filibuster in a long time, but I'd like to see it.
I'm an end the filibuster. I think that this is just an absolute loophole that makes a carnival out of our system of governance. But whatever. You are right. It's good TV. At least that episode of The West Wing was fun. I don't know where the old man.
Yeah, that poor old man that got up there and filibustered for hours. But look, I appreciate his passion. And look, if we elected these officials and they know that a filibuster is there's something that they can do and to enact, to affect change in this country, then I celebrate it. Please show us what you're doing up there and show up to work and do what Congress is supposed to do, because filibustering is part of that. So we'll see what happens.
That's Maddie. What's on her mind today? The SAVE Act. Thank you, Maddie. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you in a few days or whenever you get another burr under your saddle and you just want to come on and regale us with your thoughts. Okay?
Sounds good. Thank you, Pugs. Appreciate it.
There she goes. Thank you. That's Maddie. SAVE Act. That's SAVE Act. I don't like math. I don't like that. I don't like this. I don't like how the sausage is made in Congress, right? She's very up on it. She's like, you want to talk about the SAVE Act? And I was like, no, not really. She's like, why? I'm like, because I start to read about it and then I get tired head. And she's like, well, I don't. So come on. And I'm glad she did. So thank you, Maddie, explaining what's going on there with the SAVE Act. As I said, I got to get out of here pretty early today, but we got more stuff we got to talk about, stuff that I want to be really, really passionate about. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take another break because I just powered through an entire glass of coffee there in the time that Maddie was on. So let me go to the bathroom. This will be a short one. I'm going to run to the bathroom and we'll come right back. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to talk about some sportsy things. I want to get into the Maxx Crosby deal, right? Free agent season. A lot of Cowboy fans are listening. A lot of Bear fans are listening. We have a situation concerning Maxx Crosby that directly aligns with both those fan bases. So we'll talk about that situation. We'll also talk about the World Baseball Classic tonight. Tonight is a can't miss game. And guess what? Team USA ain't even playing. But we'll explain why tonight is a can't miss game and what is just happening with the World Baseball Classic. Some of the best baseball I have ever seen in my life. Look, guys, maybe it's because of where we are in the world. Maybe it's because there's all these wars. Maybe it's because everybody fucking hates America. I don't know. But all of these other teams and all these other fan bases, they are gunning for Team USA, which is, if you look at the batting order of Team USA, if you look at that lineup, it is an absolute murderer's row dream team of Major League Baseball players. And it's fascinating what's going on in the World Baseball Classic. Last night was a game to remember. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about some other sportsy stuff. Got a couple other stories as well. Give me a couple of minutes. Let me just redo my coffee. I'll take a quick break and I'll come right back. All right. Appreciate you. Bye. All right, we're back. We're back. We're back. Thank you so much. All right, let's see. Let's talk some sports here. You know me, I'm the best sports talker in the entire country. I just couldn't possibly stand being hemmed in by only being allowed to talk sports because, you know, I got to talk about other things as well. But I am a big sports fan, so every now and again, and I know a lot of you don't like this. It's not what you tune in for, but I got to talk about what I am feeling the passion for. And today there's a whole bunch of sports stuff going on. I got Peter in the chat room. He's like, hey, March Madness is starting. And I'm like, shut up. Seriously, March Madness. I used to love March Madness. And we went through this with Peter last year, too. Peter's a big March Madness guy. And good for him. We got to find our enthusiasms. You know, we got to find the things that make our days worth living. He's chosen March Madness. I haven't been into March Madness in a couple of years. I find it too hard to follow college basketball now. I don't know where to watch college basketball. You know, it's like, what app am I to? Here's the thing. Here's what I realized. I never in the past sought out college basketball. I never went, oh, I got to see Kansas versus Utah. I never, ever said that. I was a college basketball fan because back in the day at cable TV or whatever, I would sit on the couch and I would start channel flipping and I'd find a basketball game and I'd watch it, right? That's how I watched it. I never went, oh, so the Duke game is on CB. I never did that. But now we live in a time where you have to know the destination or the platform that is hosting the show you're watching. You don't just stumble across things anymore. So I haven't really watched any college basketball in years. I don't go to the CBS Sports app seeking, you know, college basketball. I miss college basketball. You know what else it is? None of my teams are any good. Like, I think maybe I would get into college basketball if either Notre Dame, Northwestern, U of I, or DePaul got good, but none of them are good. So there's really been no reason for me to even watch college basketball. There's nobody for me to root for. I'm tired of rooting for Duke. Ugh. All right. What I do love is football. We all love football. There was a situation that happened last night around 6 o'clock. Now, remember, I told you earlier. So I go home yesterday. I leave the studio. I go to my house. And I arrived just in time for all hell breaking loose with tornadoes and, you know, it's craziness, right? So we got, I'm cooking dinner. I'm cooking dinner for my mom or mom and her husband. And the TVs are on. There's a TV in the dining room. There's a TV in the living room. And they're both on the same channel. But I don't know. They're not matched up. One is like 5 seconds ahead of the other. So it's just chaos noise. Why does that happen? Why, if I am watching ESPN, let's just say ESPN. Why, if I'm watching ESPN in the living room and I have it on the same TV in the media room, why aren't they matched up? Why is one of them like 5 seconds behind the other? It's insane. So anyway, I'm cooking. We've got live local weathermen screaming on TVs and radar and let's check the Doppler and all of that madness is happening. And my phone is going nuts. Bring, bring. It goes off 3 times in a row. The very first one, I'll give credit. The very first one came from my buddy Mitch. My buddy Mitch, who works in the world of sports media. He texts me right away at 6 o'clock. Maxx Crosby deal has been denied. Or whatever it was. Maxx Crosby was an Oakland Raider. He's a defensive end. He's one of the biggest game wreckers in football. There was a huge deal last Friday between the Baltimore Ravens and the Las Vegas Raiders. They were trying to acquire Maxx Crosby. They offered 2 first-round picks. Crazy amount. That's Micah amount. 2 first-round picks were offered to the Las Vegas Raiders by the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for Maxx Crosby. Now, that was on Friday. On Monday, Maxx Crosby, or Tuesday, I guess, yesterday, Maxx Crosby had, well, maybe it was Monday. Maybe, because I imagine they had some meetings about what they were going to do about it. So whatever, it doesn't matter. Maxx Crosby failed his physical with the Baltimore Ravens, and the Baltimore Ravens called the Las Vegas Raiders and said, yeah, never mind, give us our 2 picks back. We're not doing this deal. And that's totally fair. That happens. It's not like the Raiders can go, no takebacks. No, it was still within the window. The deal hadn't become official. So, yeah, they could back out of it. So my buddy Mitch, he sends it to bring at like 6 o'clock, and I look at it, and I'm like, wild. And then bring as I'm doing that. That was my buddy Ed, Radio Misfits Ed. He sent me it. He sent me the thing, and I'm like, oh my God, the sports world is exploding. And just as I was resonating that, got another one. So the pecking order was my buddy Mitch. He got it first. About 30 seconds later, Ed of Radio Misfits. And then about a minute after that, my son Mason chimed in. What, did you see what happened to Maxx Crosby? This is a huge deal in the NFL. I'm trying to think if I can recall any similar situation in the NFL where a player of such stature as a Maxx Crosby failed the physical with his new team, forcing the entire deal to be null and void. Now, why is this important? Because on Friday is when this deal was announced. On Friday, the Las Vegas Raiders agreed to terms with the Baltimore Ravens for Maxx Crosby. So he was gone. And we are in the crazy free agent signing period. Although I think, is it today at 11 or tomorrow at 11? I don't know, whatever. Whenever I think it's today. I think today all the deals become official. I think at a certain time, the new league year starts, and I believe it was 11 o'clock today. It could be tomorrow. I'm not sure. Doesn't matter. Here's the point. None of the deals that were negotiated over the weekend and on Monday are necessarily official until the new league year starts and all of these deals are, officially agreed to. So in the meantime, the Las Vegas Raiders, they deal Maxx Crosby. They think they got 2 first rounds coming back, and they go on a spending spree over the weekend. They agreed to terms with a number of very high-profile free agents, not the least of which is Tyler Lindenbaum, who's the center for the Baltimore Ravens, who is the best center in football. They paid him a boatload of money, and now they've got to reabsorb Maxx Crosby. So you've got a team in the Las Vegas Raiders who, when this whole thing started, were sitting in the catbird seat as far as NFL cap space goes, who now they're in trouble. Now they got to figure out either they're going to deny some of the deals that they made when they thought Crosby was gone, or they're going to have to trade Maxx Crosby for a lot less than they thought he was going to be worth. Remember, 2 first rounds. The reason I mention this is because if you live in Dallas or if you live in Chicago, you've probably been, just hearing a lot of this conversation about Maxx Crosby, because the Bears and the Cowboys were 2 of the other teams that were very close to making a deal with the Las Vegas Raiders for Crosby. The Cowboys, in fact, were the first runner-up. The Cowboys were going hard for Maxx Crosby. They lost out to the Baltimore Ravens. 2 first-round picks, I think, were probably a little bit too much for a lot of these teams. Not for the Baltimore Ravens. But the Baltimore Ravens get him into their doctor's office, and all of a sudden the doctor is like, so here's how this goes. All right, you should figure out how this is. There are not boxes that the doctor checks. The Baltimore Ravens doctor had Maxx Crosby come visit him. This is typical. A player, once he comes to a new team in a trade, has to pass a physical with the new team in order to, be guaranteed that he's in good working order and can actually play and fulfill the contract. It's not a crazy thing. So Maxx Crosby goes to the Baltimore Ravens doctor, and the Baltimore Ravens doctor gives him the physical. Now, Maxx Crosby 2 months ago had major meniscus surgery. And I say major surgery because there were 2 choices. He could have had a cleanup surgery, which would have meant he'd have been back up and running really quick, but down the road, he would have needed to have another surgery as well. He opted 2 months ago for the big surgery that has a 6 to 8 month recovery time and all of that kind of stuff. He is only 1 week off crutches, and he's taking this physical with the Baltimore Ravens, and he failed. And again, I say this, there is no box that is checked. The doctor doesn't go, okay, he can do this, check. Okay, the doctor can do that, check. No, the doctor does the physical, and then the doctor goes and sits with the general manager and the team president, and he talks about what the doctor thinks of this physical specimen. The end result of this was that the doctor did not think that Maxx Crosby was in the physical condition that the Ravens had hoped he would be. Now, is this due to the fact that he's just like 2 months from major surgery and that nobody should have expected him to pass a rigorous physical because he's only been off crutches for a week? I don't know. Is Maxx Crosby going to come back and be the game wrecker that Maxx Crosby has been throughout his career? Or is this an indication that Maxx Crosby's done? that this injury is more serious and that he is not worth 2 first-round picks, as the Baltimore Ravens believed he was, and that he is now worth something less. And what will the Raiders do? Are the Raiders now going to reabsorb him and cancel a bunch of these free agent deals that they've already gotten themselves into? Or will they now trade him for a lot less, which means are the Cowboys and the Bears back in the hunt for Maxx Crosby? And do we want a guy that couldn't pass the physical in Baltimore? Now let's talk about why. Because if you're a Baltimore Ravens fan, or if you're a Las Vegas Raider fan, you are mad at the Baltimore Ravens because the Baltimore Ravens fucked you. You thought, if you were a Las Vegas Raider fan, you thought you were going to get 2 first-round picks for this deal, and Maxx was expensive anyway, and you're rebuilding. So your mindset is that it's going to be a year or two with our new quarterback, the number 1 pick. We got the best center in football. We're going to have to go out and get some weapons for him, right? So they know it's a rebuilding thing. But the Las Vegas Raider fans are very upset with the Baltimore Ravens fans. And the Baltimore Ravens fans, or the Baltimore Ravens in general, are basically going, this is like buying a house. So here's how it's being explained. And I know that this is probably a fair way of explaining it because I've heard no less than 4 major national, these are the talking points. I heard Mike Florio. I heard Adam Schefter. I heard locally Mike Mulligan here in Chicago. And I also heard, who was the other guy? Who's the other guy that I heard? It wasn't Daniel Jeremiah. That's it. All right. So these are 4 NFL experts today who I've heard use the exact same analogy for why this is perfectly acceptable for the Baltimore Ravens to go back on their deal with the Raiders for Maxx Crosby. It's like a house purchase. It's like when you agree to buy a house. Okay, Maxx Crosby is the house. The Baltimore Ravens agreed to buy the house Maxx Crosby, but it was pending inspections. It was pending, is the foundation good? We take those things for granted because once we buy a house, we're excited and we just expect all of those things to go, away and be fine. And they usually are. But in the case of Maxx Crosby, they bought this mansion for 2 first-round picks, and it turns out that, the foundation is cracked. Or at least that's the justification for being able to back out of the deal. It's the analogy is that it's like buying a house. You're not required to buy a house that you've agreed in principle if that house then fails all of the inspections and everything. So that's what's going on there. I don't know. Look. Football experts, they're all con men. They're all just people who are pushing confidence over actual information. They wear fancy suits, they eat in steakhouses, and they rub shoulders with a bunch of people in league offices. But that's pretty much the extent of what their special expertise is. They're really just a bunch of bullshit artists. I'll give you an example. Maybe you've had this experience in Dallas as well, but during this particular free agency period that we're going through right now, as a Chicago Bears fan, I can tell you that every expert, whether they were at the national level or at the local level, had a million very strong and confident hot takes about who the Bears were going to pick up in free agency. Oh my God, there's 24 names of people that, the Bears are probably going to sign him first. Bears are then going to sign him. The Bears ended up signing 5 guys in free agency. Not a single one was mentioned by anybody ever. Kobe Jones, not a single freaking prognosticator said that the Bears were going to sign Kobe Bryant. So it's, when you listen to the experts about these things, take it with a grain of salt because all of these people are just selling you a bill of goods. Remember, they're trying to present themselves as somebody who watches football better than you. We all watch the same thing. We all watch the same thing and follow the same thing and parrot the same sources, right? But they do it better. And that's why they wear the fancy suits, and that's why they're on Get Up every morning at 7 a.m. All right. What else? What else do we have? Big free agent moves. The Ravens. Check this out. So the Ravens moved on from Maxx Crosby quickly. The Ravens has signed a $100 million 4-year deal with Cincinnati Bengals edge free agent Trey Hendrickson, who is also the backup for both the Bears and the Cowboys. So all I can take from that is that the Ravens are being way more aggressive in the edge market than maybe the Cowboys or my Bears are. So kudos to them. There's also talk This came from Mike Florio. Mike Florio, who is an NBC expert. He also, I think he runs PFF, Pro Football Focus. Mike Florio offered today through his sources that the Ravens' initial intent was to get both Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. That they would, this thing, getting the acquisition, the signing of Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals in free agency, which, by the way, in the conference, Jesus, Joe Burrow's now got to deal with his old friend Trey Hendrickson twice a year. The reason that the reason that they signed Trey Hendrickson wasn't because they lost Maxx Crosby, that it was always the plan for the Ravens to get Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. And I got to tell you, on some level, I would have liked to have seen that. I would have liked to have seen Hendrickson and Maxx Crosby, but we're not going to get to see that. All right, so that's what's going on there. I don't know what the edge market is. Cowboys got Rashawn Gary. There was some talk. I was listening this morning. There was some talk that could the Cowboys get out of the Rashawn Gary deal and then I guess I don't know if they could now. Like, has the clock passed the time? I'm not entirely sure when that ends. But yeah. If last night at 6:00, if the Dallas Cowboys heard that Maxx Crosby was on the table again because Baltimore wasn't willing to do the initial deal they agreed on with Las Vegas, the Cowboys very much could have avoided their deal with Rashawn Gary and gone, we're back in for Maxx. They could have, but they didn't. I'll tell you this. Look, here's what I can tell you. My Bears, in this coming draft, we are lousy with second and third round picks. We got a bunch of second and third round. I think we got five picks between 1 and 80 or something. It's pretty good. Whatever it is, I'd have to look at it exactly. But I'll tell you, we've got 2 seconds. Well, let's go. 2 seconds. We'll give you 2 seconds and a next year third for Maxx Crosby. He's no longer worth a number 1. Because Baltimore says that he's fucked. So what do you want? 2 2s. Let's do that. Let's do 2 2s in this coming draft for Maxx Crosby, and I'll even throw in a third. I'll give you our third next year. Now let's talk about what I really want to talk about. Let's talk about the World Baseball Classic. This is how we're going to end today's show. No, we're not. I'm sorry. We're not going to end today's show on this. Because we didn't talk about Frisco King. I still got to talk about the new Taylor Sheridan show, Frisco King. Sorry, guys. See, I almost left you hanging there. But this is something that I wanted to talk about because you know me. I'm Johnny Baseball. I love baseball. Look at me. Of all my hats back there, I think the vast majority are baseball. I got 2 White Sox hats. I got 2 Chicago Dogs hats. I got, All right, so 4 hats there. 4 baseball. I love baseball. Baseball is my favorite sport. And I have to tell you, for the last 15 years, not really the last 15 years, because the last 2, there was a period of time between me being 30 and being 45 where I just hated baseball, where I just felt that baseball was letting me down and it wasn't the thing of my youth. It wasn't, you have to understand, baseball is a cornerstone thing for me. I mean, not only as a kid playing it, but it was such a deep part of my culture growing up, sitting on a stoop, listening to, a White Sox game on the radio with a bunch of old men drinking beers, that's kind of where it happened. My earliest and fondest memory is my first trip to a Major League Baseball park, Comiskey Park. I was probably 5 years old. And I just remember the smell walking through the tunnels. And also you have to remember, this wasn't some beautiful modern stadium. This was like an old Comiskey Park built in 1910 or something like that. So there were smells that were unique to this kind of place. And then you come through the tunnel, you're hearing the organ, and you're in these hallways, these dank, ugly 1910 hallways. And then you come up a ramp and you see the green field and you see the lights. I got to tell you, it is one of the most important memories of my lifetime, being 5 years old and going, wow. Baseball means a lot to me. I love it. It's probably my favorite sport, although I do love football. I love football a lot too. Baseball has been in trouble. Baseball's been in a lot of trouble. Baseball used to be the unquestioned number 1 sport in America. It is certainly not anymore. As a matter of fact, I would say it's probably third. I think that the NFL is the number 1 sport in America. I think NBA might be second, and then we're talking about baseball. But baseball is dropping. Luckily for baseball, hockey ain't doing dick. Hockey's just existing as hockey. They have no plan to grow or anything, so whatever. but baseball is number 3. And over the last couple of years, and if you've been listening to the show over the last couple of years, I've been sort of, noting the changes in baseball that I think are amazing. I love all the changes. I am not a baseball purist. I am somebody who wants baseball to continue to be a thing that is important in American culture. And the only way you can do that is to change the game for the sensibilities of new generations. And baseball is just too slow. Baseball was always too slow. The pitch clock is amazing. Pitch clock is amazing, man. I remember when they instituted it. I was on the show. I'm like, the pitch clock's got to be great. And all of you people, because you're all programmed to not like any change. Every single one of you. I remember arguing with Jeff Ballard. I'm like, dude, pitchers are going to love this. No, they're not. And guess what? Here we are like 4 years into the pitch clock, and there ain't nobody who wants to go back. It is a raging success. I even like things like the Ghost Runner. I do. Come on, let's wrap it up. And a baseball extra inning game could go on forever. Let's try and make this thing something that we can all, enjoy and then go to work in the morning. Not something that's going to make us stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning in a 1-1 tie in the 18th inning. No. So anyway, I like some of the changes that they've made in baseball. One of the things that I like most is the re-promotion of the World Baseball Classic, which we're experiencing right now. They removed baseball from the Olympics. And did you even know that baseball was in the Olympics? Like, most people didn't pay any attention to baseball in the Olympics. I did, because I like baseball. But when they ended baseball in the Olympics, I was a little bit upset. Did they bring it back? I think they might have brought baseball back. Anyway, I thought when they ended baseball in the Olympics, that's when there was this real sort of lean into the World Baseball Classic as something that could be the global stage for international baseball. And once, it was made clear that this wasn't going to be a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old kids, that it was going to be like dream teams, like all of these international squads of not just players we've never heard from, but Major League Baseball partnered with the World Baseball Classic. So every freaking team that you see has a bunch of Americans on it. I'll give you an example. If you're a Texas Ranger fan, there is a bunch of Rangers that are playing for different teams in the World Baseball Classic. For instance, Alejandro Osuna, he's an outfielder, right? Plays for Team Mexico. Robert Garcia, relief pitcher, plays for Mexico. Cal Quantrill, he plays for Canada. So if you're watching Team Canada, you can find some Ranger players. Ricardo Valdez plays for Puerto Rico. Blake Townsend plays for Australia. And Daniel Misaki plays for Brazil. So all of these teams are filled with known Major League Baseball players, people who are otherwise teammates and brothers who are now playing against each other in what has proven to be incredibly passionate games. The worry, of course, and we saw this last time. Do you remember when Japan beat the United States in the finals during the last World Baseball Classic? And it was like, oh my God, it's official. Japan is better than the United States at baseball. Those games were crazy, crazy passionate. In these games this year, I'm wondering if the state of things here in the United States is creating a better form of play. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm wondering if, all of these other countries' fan bases absolutely hating the United States. I'm wondering if that is really sort of turning into something that's creating a level of competition that I don't believe anybody going into this World Baseball Classic anticipated. This was a 3-team tournament going into it. Maybe 4, okay? Credit to Mexico. Mexico's a real team. Mexico is a very dangerous team in this tournament. It's, again, filled with Major League Baseball players. But the 3 teams were essentially America, Japan, and Korea was thought to be really good. Those are sort of the countries we think of, right, when we think of high-level baseball. So those were the 3. Mexico is now involved, right? Mexico, we can't count them out. How can you count out the Dominican? I mean, look, you're looking at pool play. Right now we're in pool play. We haven't moved into the semifinal play yet. So there are a lot of really good teams that don't have really great records. But my God, if you don't think the Dominicans can field a world baseball team, you don't watch Major League Baseball, guys. My White Sox has a bunch of players playing. None on Team America. I got no White Sox on the Team USA, which is a dream team. And we'll talk about this assemblage of Major League Baseball talent. But as far as my White Sox go, we've got Munetaka Murakami. He plays for Japan. He's one of their big boppers. He's a member of the Chicago White Sox, Munetaka Murakami. Then we got, and this is the fun stuff. So last night, the United States played Italy, right? We don't think of the Italians as being really great baseball players unless, maybe the DiMaggio brothers. And when we're talking about the DiMaggio brothers, let's be honest, we ain't talking about Dom. We're talking about Joe. But Italy, who was not expected to even be able to hang with Team USA, beat Team USA yesterday. Team USA is the baseball equivalent to the 1992 Olympic basketball dream team. You look at the lineup of this American team and you're like, holy shit, where is the weak spot? There are no weak spots. The weak spot is turning out to be pitching because, pitchers are terrible people. And the best pitchers in Major League Baseball playing for Team USA are refusing to pitch more than like 1 or 2 innings. So nice seeing you, Tariq Skubal. I guess you're done. Paul Skeens, how about you? Are you done? Anyway, so our pitching is lacking, but our everyday players are just bombers. Same can't really be said for Team Italy. Team Italy is made up of a bunch of look, there's a lot of Major League Baseball players that play for Team Italy, right? 2 of them are Chicago White Sox. 2 of our great young White Sox players that we got a lot of hope for. And Sam Antonacci, that's Italian, right? Antonacci. Sam, I'm playing for Team Italy. Sam Antonacci. Weren't you raised in Iowa? You're from Iowa, Sam. Yeah, but my mom, she was born in Italy. Oh, that's it. Okay, so he gets to go play for Team Italy. The other guy is Kyle Teal, who's one of the better young catchers in baseball. He's a White Sox catcher. Kyle Teal. There's an Italian-sounding name. Teal. I got Sir Anthony Dominguez. He's a relief pitcher. He's a White Sox. He's playing for the Dominican Republic and Australia. We got ourselves Curtis Mead, our White Sox third baseman, playing for Australia. So if you're watching these games, it's not like you're just going to be watching a bunch of randos. You're going to be seeing a whole bunch of known Major League Baseball players. But yesterday's game between the United States and Italy, played down there in Houston, was a game that I think a lot of us, especially after the game between the United States and Mexico on Monday, which was a barn burner. That was a great game. United States and Mexico played on Monday, or did they play on Tuesday? Whatever. But that was the game. It was Tuesday. Yeah, because no, it was Monday. Monday night, Team USA defeated Mexico, which was one of their toughest tests of the entire tournament. The very next day, they had to turn around and play Team Italy, who was not seen to be one of the toughest, outs in the tournament. Because again, Team Italy has Major League Baseball players, but none of them were ever even considered good enough for Team USA. So they had to go find out where their mom was born and then go play for that team. So that's how you get Team Italy. Team Italy opened up an 8-0 lead on Team USA last night. And at some point, because I'm a patriot, I'm an American, I want to root for the American team. At some point, I was just rooting for Kyle Teal and Sam Antonacci, who are my White Sox guys. Both of them homered in the game. By the way, that game, if you were watching that game, if you are a Chicago baseball fan, that game was played between 3 people, essentially. That game was played between the White Sox players on Team Italy, Sam Antonacci and Kyle Teal, who both made big offensive contributions with home runs and big plays in the field, and Team America. Pete Crow Armstrong of the Cubs, that dude hit 2 home runs in a row. 2 times up. Boom. So it was really, if you're a Chicago baseball fan, that game last night was rewarding for both sides of town here. Now, 8-0. Excuse me. It was 8-0. 6th inning. I think it was bottom of the 6th, 8-0. And then Team USA came up and they started chipping away. And, we're doing that thing where we're like, okay, they got 9 outs. They got 9 outs left and they got to score 8 runs. Can this dream Team USA do it? No, they couldn't. They didn't. Italy defeated the United States, shocked the entire baseball world. Mark DeRosa, who is the manager of Team USA, can you fire a manager mid-tournament? Because I swear to God, this guy had Bryce Harper. This guy was playing. Look, I love Paul Goldschmidt, okay? But Mark DeRosa has made a whole bunch of mistakes. A bunch of them were glaringly obvious yesterday in the unexpected loss to Team Italy. So what does this mean? The Team USA was undefeated, and we are in a tournament system where one loss can mean that you're out. So here's what's happening tonight. The other two teams in this pool, I think it's Pool B. These are the teams that are playing in Houston. Only the top two teams move on to the next level. The Team USA has beaten Team Mexico. Team USA has lost to Team Italy. Team Italy and Team Mexico are playing tonight. They're playing tonight. And I am telling you, this dream team of American Major League Baseball players are on the verge of being knocked out, not even getting out of the original pool. This would be such a kick in the teeth to American baseball. They were supposed to walk through this tournament. Maybe Japan was going to challenge them, but after the loss in the last World Baseball, we were assured that they had made the changes that would make this an easy Team USA win. So now we have to sit and watch Italy and Mexico. And guess what? There ain't nothing Team USA can do because it all depends on the score. If the score is a certain thing, Team USA goes home. Yeah, Aaron Judge, get your ass back to New York. Rejoin the Yankees in spring training. You guys didn't go nearly as far as you thought. All right, so here are the scenarios for tonight. If you're going to watch Team Italy take on Team Mexico, all right? If Italy wins, all right, if Italy wins outright, which I don't know, man, Team Mexico is good. I think that Italy won yesterday because they jumped out early and shocked an American team that was still a little bit hungover from the night before's win against Mexico. That was their big win against Mexico. And then they sleptwalked through the first 6 innings of the game against Italy, and by the time they woke up, it was 8-0. So the scenarios are: if Italy wins tonight, if Italy beats Mexico, bye-bye America. America is gone. Not even going to make it to the final round. If Mexico wins, all right, tonight, if Mexico wins, and I think Mexico is going to win, if Mexico wins and scores 6 or more runs, then U.S. advances with Mexico. Okay, so if Mexico wins and they win by more than 6 runs, the United States gets to go to the next round. We are at the mercy of 2 other teams. We were supposed to be undefeated. If Mexico wins and scores less than 5 runs, then Mexico and Italy advance. Does that make any sense? We were not supposed to be here. American baseball was not supposed to be here. We're not supposed to be looking at Italy and Mexico and counting how many runs are scored. Mexico wins and scores. If Mexico wins and scores exactly 5 runs, Mexico advances. The final spot comes down to earned runs per innings played against tied opponents. I don't know, man. Look, if Mexico wins and they score 5 runs, that's where the math nerds are going to have to get involved. Here, where is, I thought we had some Mark DeRosa. There's a really damning, when I say Mark DeRosa, the manager of Team USA, needs to be fired, it's not only because of the way he handled his team yesterday. It's because before the game yesterday, Mark DeRosa was being interviewed on Major League Baseball Network about the upcoming game against Italy. And Mark DeRosa was very calm. Remember, this is before the United States got their ass whipped. I mean, it was closer at the end, but it was 8-0 in the 6th. Before this happened, Mark DeRosa is very calm and very confident, and he's talking about the upcoming game, and he's laughing about the game against Mexico. As a matter of fact, he was almost looking past Italy in this interview, and then it was revealed. Mark DeRosa had no idea that if they lost to Italy, that it would put Team USA in this position. He said yesterday in the interview, and he wasn't corrected by the hosts on Major League Baseball Network, because let's be honest, those people are terrible and they don't know the first thing about follow-ups because they never went to journalism school. They're just guys who played right field for the Brewers for 5 years and now they're on TV. So nobody followed up. But Mark DeRosa said yesterday, well, it's good that we already punched our ticket and we can relax. Mark DeRosa thought they already punched their ticket. and then they lose and they realize they didn't punch their ticket. This guy is fucking doing a terrible job. But here, I do want to show you this. This is something that happened. Even the games that don't concern the American players are so fantastic. I keep saying this is what the Olympics are supposed to be. If we actually cared about the events, we don't care about the events in the Olympics. We care about pole vaulting for like 3 days every 4 years. We care about baseball. We like to watch baseball. We understand baseball. We understand the nuance. We can observe what's happening and really get into it on a level that I don't think we can for bobsledding. All right. There are these moments that are just happening one after another that are I can't tell you how many times I've gotten tingles up my spine, or because, yes, there are a lot of Major League Baseballs playing in this tournament. A lot of Major League Baseball players, a lot of minor league baseball players. You know, even if you're not a big name, you're somebody who's been playing in Major League Baseball minor league systems. But there are also just regular guys. There are just regular dudes. Team Czechia. I told you about Team Czechia. I'm like kind of a fan of Team Czechia because they ain't got any major leaguers. I don't think so anyway. They literally are just a team of like Eastern European club baseball players who are out there just, you know, there's like 15 people in all of Czechia who even knows baseball, right? And so they got 9 of them to play, 1 of them to manage, and then like 3 of them sit in the stands and root. But watch this. This came last night. This was in the World Baseball Classic game between Czechia and, who was Czechia playing here? Team Japan, maybe? I don't know, whoever it was. It obviously didn't go well for Team Czechia, but watch this.
How about this moment? How about this moment for this country and for that gentleman?
And the ovation for Andre Sartoria.
Okay. This guy is an electrician. This guy is not a baseball player. He is an electrician. He's facing Japan, one of the most dangerous baseball clubs ever assembled, the reigning defending champions of the World Baseball Classic, and they're trotting out this Yakov Smirnoff looking electrician to face Shohei Ohtani, to Suzuki, Mune. I mean, he's facing a murderer's row.
The bow and the ovation for Andre Sartoria. The bow from his manager Pavel Hedin. Build the statue in Ostrava for Andre Sartoria, a Czech baseball legend.
Look at this dude. This dude is a Czech baseball legend. What does that mean? What does that mean? This dude is standing here. This is the biggest moment. This is the biggest stage that he's... Hold on. All right. Hold on. I guess I got to take this.
Hey.
Yeah. Hey, we're streaming. What's going on?
Did I accidentally call you?
Call me. You accidentally called me twice.
I'm sorry. I'm walking down Michigan Avenue with my phone in my hand.
Oh, you got that the thighs are making calls to me, huh?
I'm really sorry.
All right, no worries. Okay, bye.
All right, bye.
There you go. See, I always take the I answer. I'm not good on phone calls. I hate talking on the phone. Every girlfriend I've ever had is like, yeah, I like to talk on the phone. I'm like, no, I really don't. Because in real life, when I'm looking someone in the eye, that's when I talk. The phone is just. But I answer the call for like, I think I got 4 people who I answer the call for these days. I think there's my mom, there's Ed, and Maddie. I actually answer Maddie's calls, which is more than I could say for other people. There's my mom, there's Ed, there's Maddie, and there's my son. So those are the only people who I make an actual attempt to answer the phone for. Anyway, let's get back to this guy. Look at this moment. I mean, this guy is standing here. He's an electrician in Eastern Europe, and he is standing on a field, global TV, 80,000 people cheering for him. I mean, this is just beautiful. This guy isn't going to go home to some fancy house where he's at. No, this guy probably has difficulty making ends meet. He's probably got some of the most rudimentary training practices you've ever seen for a pitcher. And here he is in this moment. It's magic. This is magic stuff. All right. Anyway, I just thought that was beautiful. The electrician. How about it? This moment. All right, here's another great moment. Now, this came to us over the weekend. This is so cool. This was the moment that made me think this tournament really is special. I can't love this tournament more. Let me tell you about this. I'm going to introduce you to a kid here, okay? This is Joseph Contreras. Joseph Contreras is the son of Jose Contreras. Jose Contreras, White Sox legend, 2005 World Series champion, Jose Khan. Anyway, this is his son. This is his 17-year-old son, Joseph. Now, Joseph at 17 would never be able to play for, the Team America, even though he's an American citizen who goes to an American high school. That's right. He's a high school pitcher. This is Joseph Contreras on the mound for Team Brazil facing Team America, a 17-year-old high school senior who is facing, you want to see who he's faced? Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, Alex Bregman, Cal Raleigh, Byron Buxton, and Bryce Terang. Joseph Contreras, 17 years old, gets himself in a bases-loaded jam against the most daunting lineup he will ever face in his life. And this 17-year-old kid does this. I'm telling you, man, this is magic. Get excited about things that make you happy.
Contreras. Broken bat. Out there. The double play. How about that? All of 17. High school senior. The MVP's at the plate with the bags juiced. And he gets out of it.
Unbelievable. 17 years old. That's Aaron Judge. 17-year-old kid. Think he's going to get laid at the prom? Holy cow. And, you get into a bases-loaded jam. We just watched a little 5-second clip of that. That shit went on for a good 35 minutes with this kid on the mound, and it was amazing. I couldn't have been happier. That's another example of me where suddenly I'm cheering for Team Brazil because it's a 17-year-old kid staring down Aaron Judge. Really cool. There's also some fun things that are happening. I don't know if you guys have followed this. This is, all right, so guys who play on the same team in Major League Baseball, who may otherwise be buddies, now find themselves playing on different teams in this international tournament. So they are no longer teammates. Now, some players think that doesn't mean anything, and other players absolutely think it means something. Let me bring you the story of Seattle Seahawks, Seattle Mariner teammates Randy Arozarena and Cal Raleigh. Raleigh? I call him Raleigh. Cal Raleigh is the catcher here. Randy Arozarena, he plays for, is it Team Mexico? Yes. So this occurred during the Team Mexico, Team USA game from Tuesday night or Monday night, whichever the days are all blending together. Remember, they're teammates and they're friends, and they left spring training together and traveled together, and now they're on different teams. So this is Randy Arozarena of Team Mexico walking up to the plate to bat while his teammate with the Mariners, Cal Raleigh, is catching. Let's see what happened here, because this was quite the controversy. Randy Arozarena in green and Cal Raleigh is the catcher. Let's watch. Did you see what happened there? That was competition. These guys are friends. These guys play on the same team together. They're two of the big stars on the Seattle Mariners. Randy Arozarena walked to the plate and then tried to shake Cal Raleigh's hand because they're teammates. He tried to shake his hand. Cal Raleigh was like, fuck you. We're not teammates right now. And Randy Arozarena is like, wait, what? What the hell is going? Let's watch it one more time. Again, Randy Arozarena and the catcher here, they're teammates. They're friends. And one friend tries to shake the other friend's hand. And Cal Raleigh wants nothing. They're booing. They're booing because the crowd is like, what a dick. All right, there you have it. That's awesome. That is awesome. I'm all for it. I think that's fine. There are like pearl clutchers out there who are going, that's not sports. Oh, shut up, man. I'm so tired. You want to know what I'm sick and tired of? I'm sick and tired of seeing professional athletes exchanging jerseys with other professional athletes when we, the fans, have been bred to absolutely despise anybody wearing that jersey. It makes me sick. As a matter of fact, it's one of the things that I like best about this Chicago Bears team. There's none of that. Ben Johnson says none of that. You are not going to exchange jerseys. If I see anybody doing that, you're getting fined. That's some bullshit, namby-pamby, Gen Z. We're all in this together bullshit. No, you're not. Represent the fans. We fans don't feel like we're in this together. So I don't want to see my defensive end exchanging jerseys with your team's quarterback. Fuck that. So I like this. I like that Cal Raleigh is like, yeah, not on the same team right now. Get the fuck out of here. I love that. It's not serious. It's just fun. It's sports. It's how we're supposed to be. When we walk off the diamond, then we're friends again. And to that end, here's Cal Raleigh. He actually explained the situation he was forced to. Because, all the pearl clutchers wanted to make hay about this when I just think it's terrific professional baseball. This is how competitors act. Here's Cal Raleigh talking about refusing to shake his teammate Randy Arozarina's hand. Let's see if this is acceptable. And by the way, Randy Arozarina, he also responded. And
obviously regarding the thing yesterday with Randy, I love Randy. I do. I hate that this is a thing. There's no beef. When we get back to Seattle, he's my brother. We're family. I already reached out to him, so. It's just a competitive environment, and, I know he would want the same for me when we're on the team in playoff baseball, and, I just have a responsibility for my teammates here right now and my country, and emotions are running high, but like I said, I love Randy. He's awesome. He's been great for our team, and like I said, we talked, and this isn't a big deal at all, so we're good friends, and we'll continue to be good friends, and I think we're just enjoying competing against each other right now, and that's really all I have to say about it. So,
were you able to laugh about it when you talked?
What's up?
When did you guys talk?
I'm probably not going to take questions. I'll just answer that. I shot him a message this morning and reached out, and like I said, I don't anticipate this being a thing going forward. So,
for those of us who don't understand, what responsibility stops you from talking to your?
I'm gonna just leave it at that. I love Randy. I'm excited to play with him this year, and like I said, we're having a fun time here at the WBC. So I'm looking forward to trying to bring home the championship for our team. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, well, all right. Cal Raleigh. I like Cal Raleigh. I'm a bit of a catcher fetishist. So, he's a guy that I definitely like. And I love that attitude. That is a throwback attitude. That's all he needs to say. I love Randy. We're teammates. We're not teammates right now, though. And right now, I have an obligation to the guys who I am teammates with to see all of the people in the other uniform as the enemy. That's just how we got to do it. Because it's not 2019 and we're exchanging fucking jerseys like a bunch of namby-pamby bitches. All right, tonight, the big game is tonight, you guys, and I'm not shitting you. It's Italy versus Mexico, and whether or not this is the most humiliating tournament run in Team USA history or just a scary little hiccup on our way to winning the World Baseball Classic, we'll have to find out. Because it all depends on how many runs are scored tonight in Italy versus Mexico. The last thing I'm going to leave for you here today, I want to talk about this. By the way, let's do this one more time. April, happy April Day. I love me some April. She tipped the show. Thank you so much. Please tip the show, guys. We're dying here. So if you can help support this kind of talk radio, drop a little something in either the Venmo or the Cash App, and that would be greatly appreciated. Excuse me, sore throat. All right, we're going to leave with this. Let's talk TV. Two things I'm passionate about, sports and TV. And look, there's sort of a crossover there because I watch most of my sports on TV. Taylor Sheridan is probably one of the most prolific television creators working today. The guy is like freaking, he's like Bob Dylan. He's just constantly writing. He's just, he's got notebooks and notebooks on TV shows and script ideas, and I can appreciate that because I got that too. I got a whole Google Drive filled with pitches for TV shows that'll never be heard. Anyway, Taylor Sheridan's had some real success. He's one of the most powerful people in Hollywood right now with his Paramount contract. He creates shows for Paramount. When that deal comes up, holy crap, geez Louise. I mean, we're going to be looking at some Ryan Murphy, Dick Wolf type deals. Because it's not just going to be Paramount who's going to try and keep Taylor Sheridan and all of his shows. Netflix is going to be involved. HBO is going to be involved. Everybody's going to be involved. He is he's on his way to that Tyler Perry, kind of world. If he's not there yet, I mean, he's been incredibly successful with Paramount, but it's his next deal. I think it's the next, whatever deal steals him away from Paramount is going to be absolutely ridiculous because he is that successful. And I don't know that it's all earned or deserved. He makes a lot of shows. A lot of them are really stupid. Like Taylor Sheridan makes a lot of dumb fucking shows. Tulsa King is a really stupid show. I watched the first 2 seasons and, at the start of the second season, I'm like, you know what? First of all, these characters aren't compelling. The story isn't all that interesting. And it seems to be a formula. And that's what we're watching here. So I bailed on Tulsa King. Landman. I thoroughly enjoyed the first season of Landman. And then we got into the second season of Landman. And I'm like, oh, Taylor Sheridan's bored. Taylor Sheridan has already lost interest in Landman. As a matter of fact, I think I said about Landman, this is the dumbest show in the history of me watching TV that I have ever committed to watching the entire series. I will watch the whole series of Landman, knowing full well, midway through the second season, that this is a fucking stupid show. Yellowstone, the first 2 seasons of Yellowstone, incredible TV. That was really good. And here's what I think was going on. I think that was how he broke out, right? Taylor Sheridan, the first 2 seasons of Yellowstone, people were like, this shit is good. He was putting everything into those first 2 seasons. And then he popped and he started writing a million different other TV shows. And, so the quality goes down, I guess. Mayor of Kingstown. Mayor of Kingstown is, in my opinion, without question, the finest of all the Taylor Sheridan shows. It's the smartest, it's the coolest, and it's the best acted. Maybe it's just Jeremy Renner. Maybe Jeremy Renner is just a better actor than Sylvester Stallone. Maybe Jeremy Renner is just a better actor than Billy Bob Thornton. Billy Bob's pretty good. It's not Billy Bob. I think Billy Bob is the reason I keep watching Landman. It's everybody else that I'm just like, oh, what the fuck? Can we just follow Billy Bob? Can we bring John Hamm back from the dead and just have it be Billy Bob and John Hamm? Maybe a little more Demi Moore in a bikini swimming in the pool. That's always good. And I don't know. Whatever. I don't know how I feel about Landman. I do know that Mayor of Kingstown is a great show, but Mayor of Kingstown is the one show of all the Taylor Sheridan shows that Taylor Sheridan doesn't write. Mayor of Kingstown is written by Hugh Dillon. It's basically created by Hugh Dillon. Hugh Dillon is a friend of Taylor Sheridan, who is another one of these actor/writers. Taylor Sheridan was an actor. Taylor Sheridan was a D-list actor. He played Hale, Sons of Anarchy. You watch Sons of Anarchy? Okay, so in Sons of Anarchy, Deputy Hale, he was the deputy of Charming, California, where the Sons of Anarchy was set. Deputy Hale was Taylor Sheridan. He got started in writing by writing a number of episodes of Sons of Anarchy, and then he turned that into the pitch for Yellowstone, and the rest is history. So he used to be just a struggling actor who wasn't getting much work, and he had a bunch of other struggling actor friends. Hugh Dillon was one of them. Hugh Dillon is the guy who created, with Taylor Sheridan, Mayor of Kingstown. And so it doesn't have the same sensibilities as other Taylor Sheridan shows. Taylor Sheridan has a way of writing dialogue, and Mayor of Kingstown is completely different because it's not Taylor Sheridan writing the dialogue. It's Hugh Dillon, who I think might be way better than... Anyway, Mayor of Kingstown is what I think is the best of the shows that are branded with a Taylor Sheridan show. Mayor of Kingstown is, I think, the best, and that's the one show that he doesn't write every episode for. So we got a new one. And by the way, I haven't even mentioned 1883 and 1923 and I think 1973, whatever. I haven't even mentioned these shows, all of these prequels to Yellowstone, because they all suck. The first 5 episodes of 1883 were incredible. Incredible. And then it was just like, okay, how long are we going to have to watch a wagon train? You know, it was not good. I didn't like it. I bailed on it. 1923, I watched one episode and went, this is fucking depressing. And I bailed on it. So I do like Taylor Sheridan. I enjoy Landman while acknowledging that it's really stupid. I love the first two seasons of Yellowstone. I thought they were terrific. And I thoroughly enjoy Mayor of Kingstown. So, having already said that I think Tulsa King is one of the stupidest things that he's ever done, Tulsa King has a spinoff. There is a spinoff to Tulsa King that is coming or going into production. It was just announced yesterday. They are going to start filming next month. Oh my God, excuse me. That was weird. I just had a weird kind of swallow. Hold on, let me pull this up for you. Where's here it is. Okay, so the sequel to Tulsa King has been announced. May I present to you Frisco King? That's right. That's right. Taylor Sheridan is making an entire television series about the North Dallas suburb of Frisco, and it is going to star Samuel L. Jackson. Now, apparently, this is a spinoff from a story arc from Tulsa King, which I don't know. I'm unfamiliar with it. I didn't see this, particulars because I bailed on Tulsa King because remember, it's stupid. But they've announced Frisco King to start filming in North Texas later this month. Producer Taylor Sheridan is deviating from his usual Western fare to write a comedy show. Oh, this is a comedy? I have seen nothing in all the Taylor Sheridan shows that suggest to me that he can write comedy. This might be terrible. Producer Taylor Sheridan is deviating from his usual Western fare to write a comedy show that'll be set in Frisco, Texas. Actor Samuel L. Jackson of Pulp Fiction will portray a hitman for New York mobsters who is trying to start a new life in Frisco. The city, Frisco, is a city of master planned communities and builder grade homes. It's a perfect hiding place for a fictional hitman. As a former citizen of Frisco, I lived in Frisco. I love Frisco. Frisco's great. I don't know why it would be a particularly good place to hide a hitman. There's nothing particularly unique about Frisco. It's all in the writing. They'll maybe they'll get some good writers. Maybe they'll create some good characters. I don't know. The show is going to be a spinoff of Tulsa King, a Paramount crime drama that is preparing for its 4th season. The spinoff was planned as NOLA King. So it was originally going to be New Orleans King. The spinoff was planned to be NOLA King set in New Orleans, but was overhauled to become Frisco King. The first season will have 8 episodes. All will be written by Sheridan. That's not encouraging. That's not encouraging. The first season will have 8 episodes, all written by Sheridan. Filming will begin this month. Most of the filming will take place in Fort Worth, with 1 or 2 days per episode filmed in Frisco. Most of the cast will be locals, including Frisco residents looking for their big break. They did joke, nobody knows the direction the script will take until Taylor writes it. That's a quote from the mayor of Frisco. The mayor of Frisco says, we don't know what direction the script will take until Taylor writes it. Even Taylor doesn't know, the mayor said. Frisco ranks 13th on Fortune's list of best places to live for families and is trying to become more recognizable with a PGA Frisco and Universal Kids Resort slated to open this year. All right, there you go. Frisco King coming to Paramount TV, starring Samuel L. Jackson, a spinoff of Tulsa King, to be shot in North Texas. He's, look, I'm making fun of him. Taylor Sheridan's doing great things for film and media production in North Texas. Incredible things. I mean, it's obvious to me that the reason that they shifted from NOLA King to Frisco King is because Taylor Sheridan's base of operation is already in North Texas. He's got a massive television production place in a massive ranch somewhere southwest of Fort Worth. He's got all of the television production stuff already in place here. He already is accustomed to shooting in and around Fort Worth all the time. I mean, whether you're talking about 1883 or Landman or even Tulsa King, which is primarily shot, that's right, around Fort Worth. They use a lot of the stuff at Tulsa King. The exterior shots are actually Tulsa. But he is in a base of operation in North Texas. So probably what happened was the plan was for it to be New Orleans King, but then it was like, it's going to be a little more expensive. So they moved it over to North Texas so that they could continue to shoot in and around Fort Worth. And that would make sense too, because again, you're talking about the architectural of New Orleans would be much more difficult to fake. If you could fake that you're in Frisco, Texas by shooting in and around Fort Worth, Texas, you can do that. I don't know if you can fake that you're in New Orleans by shooting around Fort Worth, Texas. You know what I mean? So that's probably why they did it, because they're just going to save money on production. And the end result is more really cool entertainment and high-level entertainment jobs coming to North Texas. That's a good thing. Now, I will watch Frisco King. I will probably watch every episode because, as I said, I lived in Frisco. I love Frisco. My buddy Aaron lives in Frisco. All my friends, a bunch of friends live in Frisco. You listening may live in Frisco. I mean, Frisco is a really cool suburb. I don't know how I could explain what Frisco is to my friends here in Chicago who know what I call them normal suburbs. Like, guys, here's something that's going to come as a shock to you folks in Texas. Normal suburbs have like 30,000 people in them. Normal suburbs are like a neighborhood with like 30,000 people, 5 cops, maybe a high school. That's a normal suburb. Doesn't Frisco have like 250,000 people in it? I mean, it's hardly a suburb. It is massive. Frisco's got everything too. Do you know when I lived in Frisco, when I first moved to Texas, and you people who've been there your whole life, you know exactly what this phenomena is. But when I first moved to Texas, at 121 in the tollway, it pretty much became Mars. It was like there was nothing north of 121 in the tollway, and then they built Stonebriar, and it's like, okay, there's a mall here, and then my God, did Frisco explode. Every restaurant in the world is in Frisco. You get anything you want in the world is available in Frisco. I like Frisco. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's show. One more time, I want to thank April. She was our executive producer, who will be tomorrow's executive producer, and who will move us just a little bit closer to our goal. We're still trying to raise $150. And again, probably need a little bit more than that, but I don't like to shake my can too loudly. $150 gets us across the finish line. Help out the show if you can. You can drop a little tip in either the Cash App or the Venmo. It would be appreciated. That's going to be it. Tonight, Team Italy versus Team Mexico. If you like baseball, it's going to be a compelling watch. I think Mexico is going to kick Italy's ass. I really do. I think Italy can't believe what happened yesterday. And I think they had a good time. Oh, by the way, another thing that I'm really enjoying about the World Baseball Classic is that all of the teams, they all play baseball, which is an American cultural experience, right? Baseball is an American game. All these people from all around the world, they play baseball by the rules established by us. But then they just have little sort of things that are different than we have here in America. And we're seeing it now. Well, one of the things that I love is that Team Mexico, after every home run, and I know that Major League Baseball teams do these kinds of things now too, but it's interesting because it's Team Mexico. Team Mexico hits a home run, and then they've got this giant comical sombrero that the guy who won the home run has to wear, and he dances around in the dugout and all of that. Team Mexico. They can do that? Why? Because they're Mexican? But if anybody else put on a sombrero and celebrated, suddenly they're racist? I don't get it. I'm watching Team Mexico do it, and I'm like, all right, is this like a black guy saying the N-word? Is that okay? They can do it? The reason I bring it up is because the White Sox used to do a sombrero thing. They changed it to a trench coat because the sombrero thing, a lot of people were like, why are you putting a sombrero on a white guy's head? Apparently it's a Mexican thing. It's like a Mexican tradition, and they're doing it there in the World Baseball Classic. Now, that's more of a run-of-the-mill thing. How about this? Do you know Team Italy has an espresso machine in the dugout? Team Italy. which is weird because half the members of Team Italy are just American guys who grew up playing American baseball, who probably aren't used to sitting in a dugout, just, sipping on espresso from the espresso machine that is located right there in Team Italy. Also, here's the thing that we saw yesterday in the locker room celebration from Team Italy. And this wasn't celebratory. You know how when you win a big game here in America, you might pop some champagne and all of that? No. The members of Team Italy, after their win, while they were being interviewed by media, just about every single one of them was talking to the media with a glass of red wine. They're just like, yes, it was a good game. Like, this is awesome. This is crazy. They're drinking espresso in the dugout. They're having red wine after the game. Team Italy, bringing their flair to baseball. There's a lot of that fun stuff happening. All right. I love you guys. Tip the show. We'll see you tomorrow. It's another noon show. And thank you to Maddie. Thank you to Maddie for hanging out with us today. Tell your friends, like, follow, subscribe. Remember, don't buy anything from me on Facebook. I will never sell you anything on Facebook. But when I ask you to tip the show, I do mean it. Love you guys. Bye.